Let's get started.
Now let's get it all in perspective. We did it like that, and now we do it like this.
Do not attempt to adjust your dial. I'm transmitting live. Yo,
Let's get down to business.
Now let's get it all in perspective. We did it like that, and now we do it like this.
All right.
for the underground world, every street and borough.
You may learn something.
You are now listening to the Joe Rogan Experience with Chico, Simon, Kamar, and your host, Matt Floyd.
Welcome to the Joe Rogan Experience. My name is Matt Floyd, joined as always by Kamar
Welcome to the party.
and Simon.
What's going on?
What we do here is very simple. The three of us have listened to every episode of the Joe Rogan Experience this week. We're going to rate each episode as well as the week on a scale of 1 to 5 Jamie Vernons. We're going to talk about each guest, the talking points, give our opinions, this, that, and the next. I'm going to be totally fucking honest.
We have to.
We literally just sat down and did the David Blaine episode, but I didn't press record. So this, I don't know. This first 25 minutes is going to be fucking awkward.
It's a journey into the unknown.
You're not even going to get how's our weeks because it would just be so fake and gross to do that again. So if you're wondering why this episode's going to start off weird, just
I can do a Cole's Notes of my week.
no, we're not going to do that. That's insane. We are going to rate the week though. Normally we have a little, 5 minutes of like jovial, how was your week? We talk about some non-Joe stuff and then we start the show. But literally, I just so bummed at myself.
I had a good week anyways.
Simon had an okay week and my week as usual was shit. We rated the week, what?
I gave it a 3.
I gave it 3.5.
And I gave it a 2. David Blaine. David Blaine.
Just to surmise where we got to this point, Matt hates this episode.
No, we'll get to that.
Oh, we're gonna
do the
this?
episode.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
like we're
okay,
not gonna
okay.
not do the episode.
Okay.
We'll just pretend like nothing happened. We had a great week. Thanks for asking, Matt. This week we had the Magic Man 1527, David Blaine. Then we had, I think I'm losing my mind, 1528, Nikki Glazer. And then we finish off with the ladies of comedy, Whitney Cummings and Annie Letterman, 1529.
And yes, it was a 3.5, a 3, and a 2s were the rating respectively. I apologize. It's on me. I didn't press the button.
It was a very lady-centric week. I forgot to mention that at
Well,
the beginning of last episode.
Matt sent over that stat thing. It's like 90% of the guests are male. So
Yeah.
I guess he's trying to flatten the curve.
Trying to buff the numbers before the Spotify deal
Add the
kicks in.
stats.
That thing you sent is crazy. When you start looking at some of the
How many people? Some of the people have been on so many times.
well,
80 times.
the-
That
unfair-
was really weird to look at.
I'm sorry. The unfair part of that is like for a guy like Tom Papa, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
in the more recent future, he's been on a ton. Whereas like
The more recent future.
um,
I'm with you.
I don't know. Sorry, I'm whatever.
It's fine.
The people in the first 300, 400 episodes,
A lot of repeats.
a lot of comedians. So guys like Ari were on. In the first 4 years, they were on 20 times.
Even then, Eddie Bravo too. He was on a shitload at the beginning.
Agreed. So that kind of warps the stats. We really should be looking from like 20.
Sam Harris.
From Sam Harris. Perfect. Love it.
I would say, well, sure, yeah.
We've come to that conclusion that there's a drastic change in the guests and the quality of the show after the Sam Harris episode.
But either way, if you go to I think it's jrelibrary.com. Is that the website? I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
Okay. There was stats for all the.
I can look it up. Hold on one second.
What I've said over and over again is Dom Irera used to always be on it.
Yep.
And Dom Irera started a podcast and quit it, obviously, at Joe's behest, as Joe is beholden to do to all his friends, get him to start a podcast. And that's the weirdest person to once you hear someone 4 or 5 times, it's sort of like, oh, well, we'll see what they have to offer. But I sort of miss him and wonder why he never got back on.
I find it hilarious that we did a throwback for Shane Smith and we couldn't figure out why we couldn't find the specific episode we were looking for because he's been on 10 fucking times. I thought he'd been on.
Looking for 2 or 3.
I thought he'd been on
3.
3 times. Yeah, that's where. Now it makes a lot more sense.
And how he's not on near the end. Sorry, son.
That's okay. JoeRoganLibrary.com.
Okay, yeah. JoeRoganLibrary.com. Sweet.
Yeah. Right. It was a JRELibrary.com.
That's what I said. But what is it?
I like how I looked it up and then
forgot?
JRE Library.
JRELibrary.com. Yeah.
Very interesting. Worth everybody's time if you like Rogan.
All right, well, let's get into David Blaine, which, as I previously mentioned, we literally were about to rate the episode and I realized the light wasn't on and there was no time and I feel like a fucking moron. So
Well, stop beating yourself up. It's all right. I think we all agreed that this was a sonic abortion of a podcast. If you just to listen to it.
So I'll start by saying to
Give
the
your
listeners,
disclaimer,
yeah, well, I have to give the disclaimer. I have that thing. There's actually a name for it too, where like sounds drive you fucking nuts. I'd have to look it up, but
It's not sounds though. It's background noise or
that's it. It's not every sound in the world drives me
That's
crazy.
what
I'd
I
just
mean.
be pulling my fucking hair out.
It's
But like,
body noises.
like here's a good example. When I play video games, I have a headset on. It's usually pretty loud so that you can hear the sounds of the game really well. If a friend of ours or multiple friends are in the chat, then they're in my headphones. The amount of times that a friend of mine will be like chewing on chips
Yeah, Doritos, that'd be disgusting.
and it drives me like oh my God, it drives me fucking crazy.
So, Matt, you suffer from misophonia.
That's it.
Which is a disorder which means sufferers have a hatred of sounds
Oh
such
my
as
God.
eating, chewing,
Oh my
loud
God.
breathing, or even repeated pen clicking. I just fucking, that's you to a T.
Yeah.
And that's David Blaine and Lil Duval.
I honestly, so this podcast, now the first half seemed like okay, but the second half is, like Kamar said, I just don't listen to it. If you want to ingest this podcast, go watch it on YouTube. That's the first fucking thing I'm going to tell you.
You have to watch this podcast. The idea, like I said, and I'm a listener. I never watch, but the idea of listening to this one, it would have turned me off too. When you're watching it, there's a lot more fun to it. Like I understand you were getting annoyed.
The
but I don't
sound
think
of someone regurgitating like water for 5 straight minutes.
It was so amazing. And you know what the greatest part about him spewing the water out was? Is that, first of all, I don't think that was part of the trick. I don't think he always does that.
You think the
I think
frog's supposed to come up earlier?
I think he drank way too much water. And when he was saying, I have to locate the frog in there, I think the less water that's inside him, the easier it is for him to locate the frog. If
Like
that
how many
makes
frogs do you
any
think have
sense.
perished in this guy for him
Well,
to
he
figure
said-
this shit
he
out?
said
no
none.
no frogs have been
He's
hurt.
never
Yeah, he has
heard
to
a
say
frog.
that. He has to.
I
He's the one
believe him.
peed on his ass.
Well, that's and to your point, Matt, I think that's why he had to. He said he had never drank this much water before. I think he had to drink excessive amounts of water because he couldn't have that frog come up dead. If that frog comes up, I guess it's not live anymore. They could have cut it out, but
yeah.
it seemed like he was drinking more water than usual because he said he was supposed to drink 6
It
liters.
seemed like he was making up as he went along.
But anyways, back to, so he kind of just opens his mouth and a little bit of water comes out. And then he opens his mouth again and it's just like floodgates of water. It was like a tap.
Yeah, I could hear it. I mean,
was-
it's
Dude, it was incredible. And Joe's like,
Disgusting. Incredibly
do
disgusting.
we need to get you a bigger bucket? And he's like, yeah,
They got a second
maybe.
bucket.
And then, yeah, Jamie rushes in with the, like this little plastic bucket. Oh man, it was
yeah.
hilarious.
Needless to say, Jamie made his money for this fucking episode.
He had to baby bird it for the win.
But I'll be with you guys on the build up to that trick to bringing a frog up took a half hour. It was ridiculous.
And we surmised, as we said before, there's nothing really magic about him. It's more illusionist,
No,
trickster.
that's right. He doesn't do any magic.
But he uses magic a lot, which is confusing.
He does magic with a C, not magic with a K.
Artsy magic.
It's totally ruined because it's gone into the whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I said this. Oh, Jesus. I think this episode would have been great had he not done any fucking tricks or
Agreed. Just to come up and technical aspects about things he had done. would have
Sorry.
been Suffice.
Not tricks, illusions. Tricks are something whore does for cash. Or coke.
Sorry. Oh man. Yeah, that's so amazing. What I was gonna say was, do you think that? Oh no, I lost it. Sorry. I don't know what were we talking about before. You made me
Illusions.
laugh.
Sorry, we were just talking about his regurgitating frogs and how it's not magic.
Oh,
It's
what I was gonna
he's
ask
an illusionist.
was, what did he do besides stick the awl through his arm? Like, weren't those
The
the
ice
only
pick?
2 tricks?
the ice pick and the frog.
And the card trick. Before
We didn't see
episode.
any card trick. No, but that's what I mean. He
that
didn't
would have
do-
been
Yeah, but
interesting.
there was, you said the build up to the fucking frog
It
was a
took
half
so long.
hour.
That's what I'm getting at, Maddie. If
Not
he
to
had
mention,
just-
hold on, they also for the first time ever, like they cut the podcast off to like clean up his blood and shit. Like this to me was one of these ones that just wasn't. I don't mind. I love Joe. I love this podcast. That's why I listen to it. That's why we have a podcast dedicated to it. I like the fact that it's like a fly by night operation and it's not so like TV, like it has to be this or that. But there's sometimes where it's like, guys,
Well, you'd be fucked if you do, fucked if you don't. Because if you just sat there listening to set up stuff, you'd be frustrated. But I guess that adds the patois.
he should have come on, and again, I'll agree with you guys here. He should have come on, done a couple of tricks where he freaked Joe Rogan the fuck out, like with a card with his name on it that came out of his stomach or something like that. You know, one of those ones. He didn't need to do the frog. I totally agree with you there.
I think it's the war between just an audio podcast and a video podcast.
I agree with that too. I still think I would have just, again, this is just what I would have preferred. Maybe there's probably people out there that were like, this was incredible. I
No
really
way.
wanted to see him.
No way.
Okay, maybe not.
It was unenjoyable.
I mean, I agree.
Whoa.
To watch it was one thing. It was still
it's
disgusting when the water's coming out. Like I said, he's no Stevie Star.
It
If you want
wasn't-
to see a real regurgitator, look up Stevie Star.
Okay. Who cares about the regurgitating? That was a pretty minor part of the episode.
It's way more amazing when you see what Stevie Star does. I'm just saying he wasted their time to do a lame ass
Yes.
version.
They should have
of
just talked
regurgitation.
about all the crazy tricks he did. I would have liked to have heard his view on the British guy there, the push.
Darren Brown.
Darren Brown.
Like that's the kind of thing I
I
would have
agree
been
100%.
more interested in from David Blaine.
But again, I think they're in totally different realms. I don't think David Blaine would.
Totally. I was
David
just
Blaine thinks he's a magician.
I wanted to hear what David Blaine kind of thought about other forms of manipulation, maybe what he thought about real magic, you know, like those would have been things that would have interested me.
What he thought about real magic.
Yeah,
And we're not even going to get back
people
into
who
this.
can do real magic.
Well, it'd be amazing if they start to have a barn fiver conversation about the push.
Well, Joe
Especially
hasn't seen it.
As
so-
as we're coming to the end of an era, it'd be a big payoff for me.
I mean, I guess the thing about magicians is they're never going to reveal anything like illusion wise. So fine, that's
Cool.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
the cool part of magic.
Listen, I don't expect that. I didn't expect him to come on and divulge anything. But like you said, the parts I enjoyed were him talking about the kid who learned how to throw dice and like the sleight of hand stuff, some of his origin stuff. You know, that stuff is great. That's what you want someone to come on for. I didn't want him to come on and do a bunch of illusions. That's all.
You know, when Joe kept asking him, like, so what are you doing there? You know, when he was talking about, like, coaxing the frog out or whatever, like, what's going on? And he's like, I don't know. He kept saying, I don't know. And I guess that could be a magician thing where you're not allowed to give away your tricks. But I kind of took it more as, like, he legitimately didn't know. Sometimes when you learn how to do something,
You just do it.
like, I can blow bubbles off of my tongue. Can you do that, either of you?
I've wanted to all my life,
I used to be able to.
Spit bubbles.
Yes.
It was just
It's disgusting.
it's
especially in these times.
totally gross. I would never do it now. I'm just saying that is a skill I have. There was some kid in grade 9 who sat beside me who did it in class, and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he tried to explain it to me, but you can't explain it. It's like it's just a feel thing.
I get it.
And I imagine that's the same because again, not real magic. He's teaching himself a skill. I just imagine that's why he couldn't explain it to Joe, because how do you explain a feeling, you know?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
And I found that was his answer to a lot of things, especially because he is that's what he is. He's a manipulator of his body. So he's
more like a Buddhist monk.
well, kind of like a yogi. So you know how before you asked me if I thought that people could levitate?
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't given actually a lot of thought to people levitating themselves. I've given much more thought to people who are able to levitate objects.
Well, first of all, you've given thought to people levitating 200-ton stones. So let's just sit there and say that if you could do that, you could obviously levitate yourself.
That's where I'm not sure. I'm
Okay.
not sure if levitating yourself is like a totally different skill than learning to levitate another object.
Mm-hmm.
Like one is flying. the other is like manipulating space and time somehow, you know? Maybe they're the same thing. I have no idea.
I was just going to say, wouldn't you be manipulating space and time to get yourself up? This is a ridiculous conversation, in my opinion,
Matt,
either way.
Maybe. It just might have something to do with like, you know, when you're watching an experiment because you're involved in it as opposed to like levitating yourself, making yourself weightless as opposed to making something else weightless. Again, it might be the exact same skill. And like you said, once you master moving giant blocks, it's nothing to lift yourself up in the air, you know?
Do you think this was one last favor for YouTube?
Why is he doing his thing on YouTube?
It's on YouTube Live, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only reason he can do the up thing is because it's going to cost so much money, but YouTube is...
No, I don't think I genuinely don't think he has any relationship with YouTube.
Well, he has to have a relationship with YouTube
Joe?
since he's...
Yeah, I don't... like, he wasn't being paid by YouTube like...
He gets paid by AdSense.
salary.
As a creator, he was just a contributor.
He gets AdSense.
That's
Listen,
interesting.
I especially, and I'll double down on this. When they were talking about the Spotify deal, he didn't even go to YouTube to see if they wanted to counter the offer. He did nothing. He just took, which again, I couldn't believe that he just took Spotify's first offer. But
As I've said before, what if Spotify's video is a total fuck up?
I doubt it.
Because you know they went down like 2 days ago.
No, I didn't.
Spotify went down. So it's not perfect. I suppose that should happen to YouTube. It'd be really interesting. I've been getting remiss watching the episodes on YouTube because I am coming to terms like it's going to be gone. I mean, the clips will still be there, but
don't you have Spotify?
I do not.
Yeah, okay. See, I subscribe. I pay the $10 a month for Spotify. So,
But if you watch anything on Spotify,
there's
video?
nothing else that offers. I mean, keep in mind. Hold on. When you there's certain like if you go to I can't. Oh, like Run the Jewels, Ooh La La. If you click on Ooh La La and play the song, the video pretty much plays in the background, but not the whole video. So like a 1 minute chunk of the video is playing in the background while you're listening to the song. You can turn that on or off if you want, but there's a lot of songs on Spotify that when you play them have some sort of video component to them already.
I mean, I'm sure Spotify is throwing everything they have at making sure it works seamlessly, but it'll still be interesting to see, especially for an episode like this.
They have 1 week, so they better fucking hope they have their shit together.
He said that he could hold his breath underwater for 20 minutes.
Or 17, but yeah, who's counting?
That's insane. Like, that's insane.
Some Wim Hof shit.
That's some Wim Hof shit.
You don't think we're less surprised because we know of the Hof?
I guess it seems different
David
because
Hasselhoff?
David Blaine just seems like a dorky dork and Wim Hof seems like this specimen, you know?
I don't think they have any connection. Although I wouldn't be surprised if he had worked with them.
What I want to know is, like you just mentioned connection. That's what I want to, where is the leap? Like, where do you go from doing street magic to like being like, I'm going to put myself in a block of ice. It's a weird leap to me.
I think the leap is money, Matty.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, okay, but just hold on. Back it up a sec. The leap is money. If you're doing card tricks on the street, who comes to you and says, if you can learn to hold your breath and we put you in a block of ice, you'll make a ton of money? Like, why would you not go to, like, what would make you go to David Blaine for that? Or what would make David Blaine be like, this is the avenue?
Think David Blaine was probably doing these card tricks, did this show, and was like, I got to figure out a way to make my magic into money. And he figured out that the way to do that was in these giant spectacles. Like,
But he had a show on like A&E.
So I'm saying his show, David Blaine Street Magic, was making money.
Lots of money.
I imagine that these, again, I don't really know this for a fact, but I imagine that these like events he puts on,
I think he pitches them.
are giant fucking money makers. Like not a television show, but like a concert. A giant concert, or I just think that they make him so well. Obviously, he's worth $40 million.
It was making money on A&E, and they just kept ramping it up. Like he said in this episode, it's sort of hard thinking of what to do next.
Well,
Let's also keep in mind, though, hold on. We always do this. We don't know that David Blaine has made $40 million off magic. David Blaine could have made $5 million off of his show And David Blaine could have come on and not spoken about the fact that I'm actually an incredible day trader.
Or he
I
just
had
got in on
Bitcoin.
like a
You know what I mean? Like
smart water.
There you
or
go.
whatever
Yeah,
it was,
maybe
50
maybe
cent.
he had Bitcoin in the 90s. Maybe a bunch of fucking dudes were like, hey, we don't have any money to pay you for your street magic, but here's 500 Bitcoins that are now
he
worth.
definitely did make a lot of money from just being on A&E.
just-
It's a different time now. He was almost before reality TV took over the landscape.
How much money do you really think they pay the actors on A&E?
Not much now.
Hold
but
on, he's not an
15
actor. Though.
years
If you have your
ago,
own show, that's a little
like
different.
Anthony Bourdain was rich from CNN.
But hold on, you're forgetting, Simon.
No reservations.
He's not an actor on a show. It's his name is in the show. It's David Blaine Street Magic. He is the executive producer, I would assume. So he makes the brunt of.
I'm just thinking of like maybe a John and 8+8 or John and Kate +8. Like they were in their show and they're all
but
fucking broke
They'd have
now,
way less
you
money to
know?
split up.
That's different though. That would be like that was someone coming to them after they had those kids. That was A&E coming to them and going, "Listen, we're gonna make this show around you guys." Keep in mind though, they also got rich off that. John and Kate.
They did get rich.
So tough argument there.
Not okay. I mean,
Not 40 million rich, but John also had like a gambling and pussy problem, and they had 8 kids, so a little bit different, you know.
the 8 kids doesn't help, but
God no,
anyways,
Like, didn't Honey Boo Boo make money?
for sure.
TLC
I
channels.
think you would just be surprised. I think they would have to work an awful lot of years on A&E to get. And you may
I
be
think-
right. Maybe the 40 million has nothing to do with his magic, although I think
It
his
probably does. I'm
illusions,
just saying.
I think it does. I think when you look like pull up if you want how rich David Copperfield was and all,
Hold on, he had a Vegas show for like
Copperfield's
years.
worth hundreds of millions.
Totally
of dollars.
different.
he made an awful lot of money doing those, making the Empire States Building disappear.
Sure.
Those were
Well, that was a different time
Back in
when
the-
That was in the 90s.
the worst show had 80 million people watching it.
Yeah. No, but that's Kamar's point is like Yeah.
All those shows, they used to make tons of money.
when David Blaine was on A&E.
yeah.
That it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
No, that was early 2000s.
It was before the internet became what it is, like so accessible. People were still watching a lot of TV.
How much do you think David Copperfield's worth?
You want me to guess?
Of course.
I think he's worth $300 million.
I was going to say 420.
875 million.
Jesus Christ.
$875 million.
David-
dollars?
But you're right. I bet you the Vegas, because they get paid a shit ton to.
Yeah, dude,
do
he had a Vegas show for
residency
like
and
10
do-
years. That's
like,
what I'm saying.
How much are the Tiger guys worth, Kamar?
Siegfried and Roy.
Rest in peace.
Both of them, eh? They're both dead now.
Are they both dead?
Mm-hmm. Didn't the other guy die this year?
He couldn't go on once his partner got mauled by
COVID, I think.
It was probably that bitch Carol Baskin.
Holy shit. Have you... Okay, this is hilarious. So remember, don't fuck with cats. Sorry, go ahead. Tell me, and then I'm...
120 million.
That's it. Okay.
Each? Oh, that's a couple.
Combined net worth.
Wow, so
That's a
60
couple.
million each. Okay.
That's still a lot of fucking money.
Well, David Blaine's 40 million doesn't seem like that much.
So
anymore.
remember, don't fuck with cats.
Yes, of course.
Group of Facebook sleuths broke the case.
Mm-hmm.
So right now,
on Baskins.
on Baskins, there's a group of Facebook sleuths who are trying to prove that Carol Baskins killed her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, they think they found the proof by when she dug up her thing and blah, blah, blah. So they're trying to get the courts to give them the access to dig up the septic tank, or the first septic tank or whatever. It's hilarious. Imagine.
There are so many people with
Carol-
time on their hands. I don't know why they don't open up every cold case ever
Thank you.
to the internet
But
and
imagine-
just say, go fucking
Or
nuts.
Epstein.
Imagine this
Sure.
scenario, Matt, where Carol Baskins goes to prison because this group of people, based on a documentary about Tiger King,
Yeah.
it is so fucking Matrix. Like,
Great. It's incredible.
It's hilarious, man.
I'm telling you, I genuinely, from everything I've seen lately, they should just do that. Any cold case 10 years old or older that they have not solved, open it up to the internet. Doesn't matter how gory, like just do it.
you.
If you're a family and you want closure, would you care?
There
I'd be
ha-
like, do it.
There
Fucking-
haven't been a lot that have been solved on podcasts, but there have been some.
Listen, let's say they open it up to the internet and the internet solved 5% of them. That is an incredible
If
rate.
they solve 1%, those are 1% that would never
That's
be
what
solved.
I'm saying.
No, I'm with,
and it's free.
I'm with you.
You're also forgetting too. There's no police being like. There's no overtime. There's no wasted resources. It's people that are doing this anyway. Fucking do it.
The only problem I could see would be if
private information and such.
and if it becomes like a Me Too type of situation where it's just people exacting vengeance through the veil of
true.
sleuthery.
Sleuthery. What are you looking at, Kamar?
So David Blaine's first show was on ABC in 1997
Okay.
with Penn and Teller, and then the
With Penn and Teller. Okay.
the Frozen. No, they presented it or something, but the Frozen in Time was the year 2000. Like
I said, early 2000s was when I remember him being.
And there was just a different type of money in TV and stuff. It's changed so drastically.
I never got to my point earlier about. Remember, I was saying that Dave in the first draft of this podcast, I was saying that David Blaine said, "I won't even do card tricks around some of the kids who are out now because they've come so far." Again,
they'll catch on to the trick he's doing, is what you're trying to say?
He would just be embarrassed. Like his tricks are so shitty at this point.
His stuff's remedial
because he spends all his time planning up and standing on ice. Those are my favorite, though, the card tricks. I find that shit incredibly
just card throwing
amazing.
and stuff is
Do you watch that Penn and Teller's Fool Us?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. You see the guy from BC, that Asian guy? It's insane what he can do. I'll show you the video.
They do the trick, and then they try to figure out. They don't say you did it this way. They sort of tell them, we know how you did it or whatever. And they get $10,000 or something.
I just watched that totally separate topic. I just watched that Rubik's Cube documentary on Netflix, the Speed Cube. Mm-hmm. It's only like 25 minutes or 30 minutes, which is super weird.
That's
for
good
a documentary.
Short content.
But those guys are nuts, man.
Yep. Cup stackers.
They're doing those Rubik's Cubes in 5.8 seconds.
Yeah.
That is insane.
But there's a trick to it, right?
No, there is no trick.
It's 30 lefts and 30 rights.
No, it's not.
It's all memory.
It's algorithm. It's all pattern recognition. But you have to be able to look at that cube and understand that 12 moves later, I have to be here. Like, it's incredible. The guy who's the best at it is obviously an autistic kid because you have to be so far. But the second best guy, totally normal dude. You know,
no, he's not normal.
Well, except
Rubik's Cube
for the
expert.
cubing. Yeah.
Dude, I saw a guy on the fucking New York subway one day type in what I can only assume was 100-digit password for his phone, which I thought was the most obscene thing I've ever fucking seen.
That's hilarious.
Because I was like, this guy has to do this every fucking time, but that's just, I don't know. That's just how some people's minds work.
You don't want the fucking government getting into your phone, man.
Where he like types out pi to 20 digits or something.
I get, well, maybe that's what it was, you know?
Dude, that would be amazing. That would be amazing if your code was pi to like 100 digits.
But even then, have you not seen those people?
out there.
Have you not seen those people that can memorize like a number that's like to the fucking? It's like 300 numbers long.
Yeah, they're out there.
And they do it by telling a story.
That's almost magic.
I was just gonna say, to me, that's like a form of magic. That's somebody who's able to access a part of their brain that you and I, as non-magicians, are not able.
But that's
to
the thing.
access.
It's not, because I saw the chick who's the best in the world at it, and she was like, I'm just like you. There's nothing special. She's like, there's nothing. She's like, it's not, I don't use a special part of my brain. She's like, I make a story out of it. It's a very long-winded story that tells me the number.
But she must have some sort of photographic
And I
memory
think
to
they're
recall the story.
for sure. You know, that probably wasn't a great example, but like the people who are able to like whatever move things with their mind or remote viewing or whatever, they're accessing something that
none of those things are proven,
think
but
is
okay.
in all of us.
It is in some
That
way.
they're just it's again like if we're only using that certain percent of our brain, whatever that is, because I know that the 10% is wrong, but let's say it's 30% or 40%. It's like the ocean, you know? What else is out there that we don't even know about?
It's some sort of mind over matter, but not necessarily the matter being a rock, the matter being your body.
Or time and space.
Well, that's
or,
what we hope, yeah.
It's very cool, man. It's very cool.
Anyways, as we were discussing, he was on this for his newest stunt that he's doing on August 31st, where he's going to fly a bunch of balloons from New Jersey to New York. No, he's not even flying to New York. He's flying up into the clouds till he disappears.
He's flying up, yeah.
Then he's going to grab a parachute and make his way down.
Yeah, I mean, again, this
and land
to me,
to go, ta-da.
what is the difference between that and the guy jumping out of the plane from...
Well, that's what I was my point was going
The
to be
Red
David
Bull
Blaine.
guy.
now seems more like a Red Bull stunt
Yes,
artist
I
than a
totally
street
agree.
magician of any sorts.
How long
he's
did you
chasing the
spend
money.
on the ice?
In the ice, you mean?
63 hours.
Was that all it was? I have it written down somewhere.
Is that all it was?
No, for some reason I thought it was like days and days.
That 63 hours is
That's
days.
2.5
no, but
days.
like 42 days. No, that was when he was in the box underground.
Buried alive or something.
It was like for days. And he was talking about how he goes 20, 25 days without eating and he'll go days without drinking. Like, listen, he may be lying. If he can do those things, he's trained his body. Like, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. We have to look, I don't eat very often. I fast for most of the day. But then I eat like a motherfucker, you know, every day.
Well, maybe you should train yourself better.
So he's
You'd be like
flying
David Blaine.
He's flying up in a bunch of balloons, and in honor of that, we're doing the movie game with the movie Up. It's the movie game where Simon and Matt go head to head. Pick out a year a movie came out, the budget, and the box office.
We have not done this yet, folks, in the old episode. This is where we realized that we had...
But like either of you ran outside and like check the stats. You both think I was going
I
to pick a
truly
different movie?
never care about winning this thing enough.
Exactly. Starring Ed Asner, Christopher Plummer, and Jordan Nagai.
That really sounds like somebody who wins all the time, eh?
Cocky.
I don't win all the
That
time.
You don't care. Maybe if you lost like I do, you'd have a little more
I lose all the
interest
fucking time.
in winning.
Did you guys like Up?
I
when
have
it
a
came
year.
out?
I didn't see it.
You've never seen Up?
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm sure Simon's seen
You've
it. He has
never
kids.
seen Up?
No.
Have you ever seen any of those Pixar movies?
I've seen Toy Story.
Have you seen Monsters, Inc.?
No.
You have to watch Monsters, Inc. It's so relevant right now.
Okay.
What about
Do you think you cry when you saw Up?
Monsters, Inc.?
Monsters
Up.
Inc.
I'm sure I cried in a lot of those
Monsters
movies.
Inc.'s the one about feelings.
It's about being scared. No, it's not about feelings. What you're thinking of a different one where they're inside of the person's head and
Yes,
there's like depression.
yes.
No, that was stupid. That wasn't Pixar. That
liked
was what about like old Disney movies, Matt? Did you watch like The Lion
seen them all.
King? You've seen all of those.
I mean, I grew up in the 90s, Simon, so of course I've...
So you watched those as a kid?
The Lion King came out in like 1993, 94, 95. I would have been like 12,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, no, like just as an example,
Ah,
we-
Zivenya, nanarabissima,
we took mushrooms and went and watched that in the theater.
Yeah,
It
man.
Yeah, I
was
mean, I'm younger than
incredible.
you, yeah.
It was incredible.
But like Aladdin, the only one I haven't seen is Mulan.
So no, I'm just trying to get a gauge of, but you definitely, I then watched all of like everything else because of my kids. So at
That's
that
what I'm
point,
saying.
you would have given
I
up.
tapped out at like 20, yes.
I think there would have been movies, if I had kids or not, just as a stoner, that I would have gotten high and wanted to go see. I'm
If you were a
wondering
stoner?
if there were movies like that as a stoner, if there were movies like that that you went and saw, like
No.
Up.
No.
iRobot.
iRobot is not an animated. That's a
What,
Will
what
Smith
are you
movie.
even talking
No,
about?
what am I thinking? Wally. Sorry, Wally.
I was like, I did see iRobot, but I don't know what relevance that has here.
Terminator, Matt. It's,
I never saw Wally, no.
Wally.
Wally's actually a really hard one to watch.
I never
but
saw
with-
Wreck-It Ralph,
very-
which Wreck-It Ralph would have been
Dude,
one
you
for
should
me.
totally see Wreck-It Ralph.
If you like video games.
What about, did you ever like see Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's different, though. Ready
No,
Player
no,
One
no,
to
it
me
is.
wasn't a kid's...
It's not. It's an adult
Yeah.
movie. Yeah. It's a book, actually. It was a really good
I know.
book.
But of course, Ready Player One, I feel like that's right up my alley.
Right up
We're
your
almost living in a simulation based on video
And
games.
they're
You know what I mean?
training
Yeah, yeah.
you to be part of the simulation.
Yeah.
I think we went through this last week, didn't we, with the first-person shooters?
Listen, I'm on board there.
Did you ever see The Last Starfighter?
No.
That's like the exact same story, but from the 80s. It's a great movie. Who
No, I
was
never
the
saw that one.
lead in that? Just the guy who totally disappeared?
Yeah, pretty much.
What was the movie with Fred Savage with the power glove, where they introduced the power glove?
That's The Wizard.
The Wizard.
Yes,
His little brother
nice
was
work,
amazing
Simon.
in video
Yes,
games.
it was the wizard, yeah. I had the power glove.
Dude, that's hilarious. Fred Savage at that point was like super hot, right?
Popular.
I don't
Let's just stop
I don't
for a
mean
second.
hot as in like a hot kid. I mean like popular. He was on
I know.
fire.
Can we talk about the power glove for a sec? Like, let's just think about how terrible that technology, like even by today's standards, to think about it, that's like a thing that they would just never, ever. It's a glove you put on with like an iPad pretty much attached to the arm.
Oh, I remember.
But dude, do you remember how, like, you had to set up a sensor thing to use, like, I remember because you could play Mike Tyson's Punch Out by like using your fingers, and it was, dude, it was such a piece of shit.
You know what I remember
You're bragging,
about,
man, because I couldn't afford the.
You know what I remember about
My dad
the,
was into all that shit. I
Just
didn't buy
wished
it.
about it.
what I remember about the Power Glove. I was never allowed to buy video games consoles as a kid. After the ColecoVision, my parents gave up on that shit. But I would go to my friend's house, and that thing would be like in the toy box, never to be used, you know? Because it was so stupid. But it was like, remember when the Motion came out for whatever thing it was? And it was like cool for 1 day, 2 days, a week. And then you were like, this is fucking garbage.
What do you mean, for like Wii? Are you talking
For
about the Wii?
maybe it was for one of the Xboxes.
Well, the problem with those things is they never recognize black people.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Why would that be the case?
Probably
White designers.
white developers would be the first thing, I'm sure.
No, but I mean, what is it? Oh, you think they did it on purpose?
No, they
No,
just
no. I
did it,
think
and
there's.
then
I think most of the people in the studio are white. Therefore, they test on white faces and white skin tones. And
I'm just wondering why. I would have assumed that it would have been like a heat signature, you know?
no. I think it's probably that. Simon, I wrote my year for Up.
Oh, I haven't done that yet. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Look at Kamar's face.
So Up is actually a Walt Disney Studios motion picture.
But
Pixar.
Pixar is not,
They might have rebought it by the point they made because it
because
was
it's DreamWorks Pixar.
No, Pixar is Disney.
This time.
So Disney owned Pixar. So
Yeah.
Disney made Pixar.
Oh, yeah.
I understand, yeah.
Then
Productions
they,
company,
I
Pixar.
believe that they sold Pixar and then bought Pixar back.
It is a Pixar animation studio as well.
Because
You're
I
right.
thought
DreamWorks
Spielberg.
is the other one. Like Shrek, I think is DreamWorks. All the other cartoons that aren't Pixar are that other company.
In my head, Pixar was separate from Disney, but they're not.
Either way.
I'm trying to think of.
Can you write
another
down a year,
example.
please? I beg you.
Yeah. Okay. So Up.
I haven't even seen this film, and I wrote down a year already. I guess maybe that makes it easier because I have nothing to think about.
Yeah, you can just go with the flow. Music by Michael Giacchino.
Well, something tells me you butchered his name.
Okay.
Giacchino.
Ready. I have a year.
All right, what is it?
2015.
Ooh, I wrote 2016.
2009.
Wow, way off.
Okay, way
You
off.
guys thought it was just a couple years ago.
Way off.
Okay, so now we need a budget and a gross.
I think this is going to be very close in this case.
So this was a Pixar film?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Oh my God, that can't be right. I think that's right.
It's a story of a boy who follows a man to South America.
I'm ready.
Okay, you go first, Matt.
Never seen it. No idea anything about it. I'm just going to throw this out there. I think it cost $80 million to make. Probably way off. And I think it grossed $567.4 million.
Okay, I'm probably way off. I said it cost $375 million to make,
You said it cost, sorry, what?
and it grossed $646 million.
Say that again. What you think it costs, you think this movie cost more than $250 million to make? Okay.
You were off, but you weren't that off. Oh,
What?
It's 175 million.
To make?
So I sorry, I was off by a lot, granted, but I knew it was something nuts because I remember Pixar movies just cost a shit, all of them.
Listen, I know. That's why I said 80 million.
But Kamar, sorry, after this, go ahead. And it made.
735 million.
Oh, I was so close. Fuck. 646. Do me a favor. Can you just pull up Toy Story? How much Toy Story cost to make?
I think $100 million.
Oh, I thought it. Okay, so I was just if that's
No,
the
I'm
case,
pulling it up and just saying.
Simon,
what
you
my
got to
guess
realize
is.
they can't, it's not, most movies, they can't spend $200 million to make.
I realize that, and yet I think these cartoons cost a shit ton to make.
Yeah, but the reason Toy Story, hold on, you're forgetting that, stop. Toy Story was the first.
I know.
So it's,
So that's what I was going off of.
Yeah.
So how much?
And what year do you think it came out?
Oh,
Just
shit.
spit it out. Just spit it. Don't write it down.
98.
96.
95. But the budget is 30 million.
That's it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but that's 30 million in 95.
In 95, yeah.
I
That's
thought
huge.
I
And
thought for some reason it was like in the hundreds of million.
It might as well be. In 95, 30 million is astronomical.
Up in 2009 is 175 million. So that sort of works. Like it just triples every year.
Anyways, crazy regardless.
That's the movie game. No winners, but we're all winners because we're listening to this podcast.
Yeah, well, David Blaine, you're not a winner if you listened to that one because that...
We mentioned in the first take about the dice. We won't talk about it, but that is crazy. The fucking learning to throw dice. That is something that I would actually be willing to put my time towards.
No,
No, you have to do that when you're like 15
years.
yeah,
The kid did it for 15 years or something.
I would have had to start a long time ago.
Sleeping under a craps table.
I love craps. Like when I go to the casino, if I have money, I play craps because it's one of those games where
you have no idea what's going on.
well, I know what's going on, but you end up, it costs a lot to play.
There also gets a certain energy around the table and stuff.
Well, it depends if you're rolling hot or not.
I'm not a good roller. Like I like rolling when I'm the only one at the table. I don't like the pressure that the people put on you. Like you're somehow responsible for your rolls, you know?
Well, according to David Blaine, you might be.
Well, if you knew magic, then yes, you may be. You know, it was super interesting that he mentioned just
in closing.
a fact. Oh, you want to close on him?
Well, we got to be. I mean, we've now officially spent like 2 hours on David Blaine.
Okay, I'll just get to a couple of highlights here. The coral, how the coral functions like a mushroom. It is so fucking weird and eerie the way those two things are encompassing the whole world.
Yeah,
like between
coral's
coral
an alien
and
for sure.
fungus. Listen, if you were an alien species, that would be a great way to foothold the planet.
It makes sense. And the whole coral talk was super cool. And I think coral might be aliens.
Have you ever been underwater near a ton of coral? The sound it makes is fucking obscene.
No, I haven't.
Is it crackling?
Yes, it's
That's
insane.
crazy.
Like
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, so when we were in Hawaii, I remember they were like, so if you've never been near coral, it's a weird sound that you're not going to be used to. And I was like, what is this fucking idiot talking about? I was like, I'm not going to hear sounds underwater. And sure enough, you get down there and it's all you can fucking hear. That's it.
That's very...
It's just this constant fucking crackling. And you're like, what in the fuck?
And you think it's like a rock, but it's actually alive.
Well, it's like, you know, the blip?
The blip? Is that a film?
No, it's a famous thing. They call it the blip. It was like this sound that they heard. I think it was actually Canadians who detected it. A sonar sound that they have no idea what it was. It was like, some people think it was some sort of monster. Some people think it was like the earth moving or whatever. It was a... No? You've never heard of that?
No.
Anyways. I don't know why I was telling you about that, but it's a very interesting...
It's the weed talking.
Probably. You wanted to talk... Oh.
No, I wanted to end it. I wanted us to rate it.
Okay, fine. I'll get to the end here. So I was just listening, coincidentally, as they were talking about the coral.
Yeah.
I had just listened to a whole podcast about morphic resonance. And that's going to be my choice for next throwback is...
Wow, you heard it here first.
what's his name?
Nestor?
Rupert Sheldrake.
Oh.
Yeah.
Excellent choice.
Great. Can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
It was a great podcast. I don't know if you remember it.
I assume it was recent. You're not going that far back.
I don't think it's that recent, but it's not that far back. Yeah.
So you're breaking the 1,000 rule?
Are we not supposed to do the 1,000?
Well, our initial thing was try to start from 1,000 and go back, but
Well, if you don't even remember the episode, then I'm sure it'll be fun.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What do you rate this episode?
I rate this one a 3.5.
I think listening to this solely, I give it a 0.
I think okay, yes, this has to be. Now, you did both.
I listened to it and was
Okay.
like, "What the fuck?" Then I had to go back
Okay.
and watch, obviously, the end at my detriment because I did not think it was cool as Simon did.
Because I honestly, I can't in good conscience. I can't give it anything higher than a. We've decided that 1 is the lowest. I've given some a 0 before, but I guess we say 1 to 5 Jamie's. This is a 1. This is unlistenable for the most part.
All that being said, I still give it 3.5 because the beginning was interesting and it wasn't Corona COVID heavy as the rest of the week just divulged into.
Fine, 1.5. Because I guess you're right. Yeah, devolved.
550, Matt.
550 what?
Rupert Sheldrake.
Perfect. There you go.
And then he was on again 12:33. That's why you.
There you go. Do you want to rate it, Simon? This episode?
I did. I
Yeah,
gave
he
it a
gave it
3.5.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Okay.
And I'll just say that
Now you're
look,
giving it a 3.5 on the watch.
on the watch. Absolutely. If I had listened to it, I'm a huge stickler for like pen guy. That drove me insane. I think I gave that episode a 1, even though it was such an amazing episode. So I get where you're coming from.
I'm also being unfair. It's just that it ended with the regurgitation. I'll say this: if it started with it, I never would have gotten through the episode.
Frog was unnecessary. We can all agree on that. But this episode did have some really cool talk in it. It could have been way better. I'll agree to that. It could have been a 4. It could have been a 4.5.
It could have been for
I
sure.
think without the tricks.
I think
Because
it could have been.
David Blaine, as weird as he is able to do something that is neat, and he has some crazy stories, obviously.
He's a classy Steve-O.
And doesn't he genuinely seem like he likes what he does?
I think he's on the spectrum, like I said.
Yeah, probably a little.
I think he has trouble having relationships.
Well, listen, to run
He
up...
seemed like really excited. Like even just to be there, like
Yeah.
it was like for a guy who's got $40 million and is famous on his own.
That's what
like
I
he
mean.
seemed, but again, not happy to be there and like I'm a huge fan of the show, but just like weirdly happy.
Like he had
to
so
be
many
there.
stories that he was like, oh, I want to tell you that, but I'll forget it. But don't worry, it's forgotten.
Yeah.
And did you see when he started with those handcuffs? And he was just like, oh, we can talk while this is going. He was trying to,
Well, the weirdest part too.
So
No,
he
but
was
the
trying
weirdest part
undo
to
the
me is
handcuffs.
someone that shows up to someone's studio, takes a gift that someone left, and is like, "I'm going to try to break these."
Dude, the whole
That's
thing.
cool, right?
That's why I'm agreeing with Kamar in the spectrum, but he couldn't stop. And Joe was like, he said, we can talk while I do this. And Joe was like, well, I'm not going to get your undivided attention then. And he was like, yeah. And he just kept going. Like he just wanted to do it.
He's
And
an interesting person. I will not lie.
very interesting guy. And again, I'd be interested to know if his ability to manipulate.
Space and time.
No, he cannot do that, I don't think. I think he's an illusionist. But does that put him closer to the ability to get to that part of your brain?
Like you said, yogi, Buddhist monk, that's whatever that
like a
category
guy
is.
like Wim Hof, just as an example, Matt, just in closing, a guy like Wim Hof, like he's obviously able to do things with his body that a normal person can't access. Does that then make him closer to be able to do that on another level, like of the brain? Or is it really just you have to practice that one thing?
I don't agree with your statement. Anyone can do what Wim Hof does.
I didn't make a statement. I asked a question.
No, but you said he does something no one else can do. That was a statement I disagree with because he does courses and he says anyone can do it. It's through practice.
Wim Hof can do things that anyone else can do.
He says anyone can do what he does. It's not like it's just practice and the breathing.
I wonder how long he can hold his breath for.
I think it's up there with David Blaine.
Like 17 minutes?
Well, under ice.
Well, how about that kid they were talking about that under the ice for 45 minutes?
But because of the cold
That's
temperatures.
different though. He was like almost dead, but the cold just like
It's still incredible.
And Wim Hof climbed Mount Everest with no clothes on. I mean,
No shoes on.
in his shorts.
in shorts.
Oh,
Sorry.
in shorts. Yeah.
clothes
So
on. That's
like
as
in
crazy
shorts
as
and a t-shirt with
Oh,
no
he's
shoes.
protecting his balls.
David Blaine's done. I'm sorry.
Even then, you're forgetting he's walking like no shoes. You're walking a sheet of fucking. It's a rock face. Like that just
It's
seems
magical.
I was just
ridiculous.
saying that Wim Hof might be a wizard. Like we're arguing the same thing.
But
here.
Wim Hof says anyone can do what he does. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what wizards
Well, then
always say.
we're all
But hold on,
wizards.
it's tough to sell your book if you don't sell it on like everyone can do this. You can't sell a program on like, listen, maybe only like 15% of you all can actually do.
That's fair.
All right, let's move on. 1528. Nikki Glazer.
Nikki, you're so fine. Every time you blow my mind. I cheated and listened to her. Well, we knew she was coming up, but she was on the Greg Fitzsimmons show 3 days earlier.
Can you give a number, Kamar?
1528.
I did it.
1528. Like Matt said so articulately.
Yeah.
So I listened to her twice, and I really like
Listen,
Nikki
fuck
Glazer.
faces, which by the way they talk about in the next episode. But one of my favorite insults of all time.
Fuckface?
Fuck face. It really says it all.
It's quality. I really like Nikki
Sorry,
Glazer,
back to Nikki Glazer.
but she's coming undone.
I think she's been undone for a long time. I don't even think she knows. Whatever. I'll say this: like I laughed out loud a few times this podcast.
No, she's hilarious and funny, and she's worth $2 million, and she doesn't know what she's going to do with her life.
Her show on Sirius,
Never listened to it.
I have, because I used to have Sirius.
Mm-hmm.
Because they roped me into another year through fucking extortion. But I'm out now.
Oh, okay.
Her show is like exactly like this episode was, where at some points you're just like, yeah, it feels like you're giving us too much information, but that's what makes
She's
it
an
what
open
it
book,
is,
yeah.
you know?
But I don't buy it.
You don't buy.
You don't think if you started crying in front of her, she'd suck your dick?
No, not that. It's just a lot of the stuff she said, I don't buy. I've met a lot of girls like Nikki Glazer that talk, and then on the same token are like, but I haven't had sex in 17 months. Like, I just don't buy it.
If she hasn't had sex in 17 months, the guy who asked her to get the autograph, maybe he's a nice guy. You know what I mean? And maybe she should have gotten the autograph, and maybe they'd become a couple and be happy forever. She slowly revealed that she's got guys who have her, she's a side bitch for, and
Even then, she said, so think about this. She's like, hasn't had sex in 17 months, but is like in an sexting thing with some A-list celebrity. Mm-hmm. But then she was like, but when we meet up, he's never, I don't know.
I'm kind of with you, Matt. Joe made a good point. It might have even been in the next episode when they were talking about why guys like the idea of jerking off in a girl's face. Mm-hmm. And I had never thought about it before because it's a fun thing to do. You know? But more to that is like,
it is a fun thing to do.
The fact that a girl would want to have that done is like a signal to the man that she's down for whatever. You know, she obviously likes sex because she wants to nobody wants to have fucking cum blasted in their face. Cum is sticky and gross.
Talk to Milo.
Like, that would be my opinion.
But that would be my opinion too, because I don't want to get cum in my face or near me. But I know I've met girls that seem.
You've met some, but I would imagine that the majority, like up in the 90th percents, do not like cum in their face. I mean, I would, dude. I want to agree with you. I'm throwing that.
I think it's a situational thing for women.
I think you're wrong, and I think that when it does happen, is because they're trying to like. It's not as much as they want it as they want to make you happy.
They may
But
not
wait a
be
minute, you've never been
happens.
fucking a girl and been totally willing to come inside or not even thinking about it, and then she is actively like, come in my face. You've never had that happen?
I have. I just think more often than not, you get come on my like belly or something. You know what I mean? Or on my tits. I just think coming on the face is like a whole different thing, man. Come in the eye. Listen. You've gotten your own cum in your eye before?
No.
Kamar, you've gotten your own cum in your eye before?
I'm sure.
Do you not know how to aim? What are you jerking off like this?
Sometimes, Matt, I'm surprised that you've never had this happen, but like...
Not a big shooter, though, so...
Well, there you go. Yeah. Anyways, my point is, it's not nice. And I imagine that's like, that was the tiniest little bit. I imagine a giant wad of cum in your eye is fucking terrible.
I'm sure it's situational. There's a time when the same girl who wants to be cum in the face doesn't want to be cum in the face. I don't think anyone loses sleep and lives to be cum in the face like as a fetish.
Anyways, my point was...
It's terrible.
He told me that he was dropping it off. Anyways,
Jamie could have been the hero when they got in the COVID talk.
I don't even remember why I was talking about that. Sorry.
Because you wanted to emulate Nikki Glazer and just talk about stuff like she does, be open and forthright.
But think about it. It seemed like she went on and only spoke about her sexuality and her
That's her
relationship
brand.
for 3
That's what she
hours.
does.
Whole radio program.
It's so consistent with her.
And she'll talk about a guy who she's
But that's what I'm saying. I don't
phone
buy it.
sexing with. I'm with you, Matt. I think it's like an air. I think she's built her career on being this girl who seems like she's like a easy blonde.
I bet she's crazy vanilla in bed.
I don't think so.
I do.
Is she having fantasy about being gangbanged?
It just may be a scenario where if you were like with her, she would be nuts, like she was saying, you know, but just as a one night stand. That's never even going to happen. She doesn't do it. She told you that.
I think it's like a pool player. You know, if you play a better pool player, then your game will rise. I think when she fucks someone as a fuck style, she can rise to the game, but maybe she's vanilla with an inexperienced person.
No, I truly believe like this whole fucking I fantasize about getting gangbang thing, but you haven't had sex in almost 2 years.
That can't be winning her any.
It's a
accolades,
fantasy.
You know what I'm saying?
She will
girls are
put
gonna
up with.
girls are gonna hate her. I don't think like guys are like. Do most guys like watching girls get raped? Like I don't think so. You know,
get raped. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Who the fuck likes watching that?
Well, that's what she's talking about.
She literally was talking about that and how she has to watch to make sure there's an after view where they talk to the girl and she makes sure she's okay.
Which is insane. The fact that you would have to have an after view, like a consent thing, today's date, a newspaper.
No, it's like a post, Joe. It's
Yeah.
just like,
oh, she wants proof of life.
Proof of life. This is what I'm saying. This is nuts.
What happens before the proof of life is nuts.
You need
She
proof
wants
of
to
life.
But wasn't it weird? There's two things. When she was asking Joe what kind of porn, he was like, I don't really watch porn. And then I guess I like big butts.
girls with big asses, but that's about it.
Like, he did two which was like he's not letting on exactly what he gets into. But then they got on the COVID talk, and Nikki said it was the perfect time for Jamie to drop something. She goes, "How do you get your D?" Because he was talking about vitamin D, and had Jamie been on it, he could have done something hilarious. Because she kept asking, like,
What was Jamie going to do? He doesn't have a button like I do.
That's what she said. Or if he just said something.
You know when you like have like a tiny little moment of clarity in your head, and or like just a good idea, and you're like, oh, nobody's around, and you're like, that's a great idea, or
No,
that's a
I don't
great.
get those.
I had one the other day where I was like, because I was talking about how people are leaving New York City like rats leaving a sinking ship, where it is really like rats leaving because it's New York City. I thought that was pretty poignant.
It's very bad what's happening in New York City.
Yes. Well, that was what we were going to lead into is Kamar and I were talking about it outside, like New York City, Los Angeles, they're stopping comedy from happening, right? For zero reason, as far as I can tell. Because a small comedy club is no different than a restaurant. You could space the people out the same way. The only difference is you have somebody on a stage talking instead of nobody on a stage talking. Like I just really, I fail to see the difference.
Well, I think like we'll find out in the next episode when Annie Lederman was like, I stood beside like side stage to Whitney Cummings on stage, and she was like, I've never seen more spit come out of someone's face.
No, it was Joe. Joe was the spitter.
Oh, sorry. Even then, when we laugh too, we're fucking probably spitting all over the goddamn place.
Well,
So,
all
I
these
don't
places now have the plexiglass.
Well, that's
So
what I
that
was
might be
going to
the
say.
new norm.
As long as you just have something blocking the person from the people.
know. I mean, listen,
you
if
should
everyone's
be
wearing
fine.
a mask, who gives a fuck?
No, but again,
Well,
you
that's
shouldn't
what I
have
wonder
to
about.
wear the mask the same way you don't wear the mask while you eat.
But that's different. You don't eat. Listen, but I'm just saying, it's at a comedy club. You don't have to eat. Just watch the comedy and wear the mask.
I totally understand. But what the fuck is the diff? If you put that comedian in a plexiglass box, let's say.
Well, it's that you're at a table with 4 other people, Simon.
So are too when you eat at a restaurant.
But all the
Yeah, but what I'm
restaurants
saying,
are socially
I'm trying
distanced.
to argue for you here. I'm saying if everyone's wearing a mask and 4 of you are sitting at a table, then you don't even need the plexiglass. You don't need, but you don't want to see me helping you here.
No, I'm trying to yes, those are all ways they could get around this. But to me, there's no difference between the comedy club. They're equating comedy clubs to like concert venues, and those two things are not at all the same.
I disagree, as I did outside.
Okay.
It's all the same pool.
I don't understand how a 50-person comedy room would be the same as a giant outdoor concert, and yet they're being monitored the same.
Let me also put it to you this way. You're forgetting that human beings aren't the type of people to not try and skirt every fucking rule possible. So guaranteed there'd be a comedy club somewhere that would have a rock band on one night and fill the place. You know what I mean? Like it just takes fucking...
Listen, I'm like an advocate of everybody being really careful and safe. This seems like hypocrisy at this point because it's exactly the same as something else that they've deemed acceptable.
But restaurants aren't acceptable. You can't have a full restaurant.
Well, I'm not saying you have a full comedy club.
Well, okay, they couldn't make money at comedy clubs back in the day if they had a 50-person room. So it's just a numbers thing. And all these restaurants are going to go business too.
Either way, Joe, I got to say this. Joe seems like he's never experienced change in his life.
Well, no one's experienced change like this before.
Well, no, but fine. But even then, he's sitting there and he's so angry at the government for putting things in place. Like, what was the one thing that he was so pissed about?
Everything.
Well, no, but there was one thing on this episode that he was. You want to move on? Go ahead.
LA shutting down, telling people to work. I mean, it's a broken record throughout. They didn't do this for the Spanish flu, right? They didn't have mass lockdowns and shut businesses down. And this is the first time this ever happened, so he's in a shock. I think it's
the Spanish flu also had a massive second wave that killed 50 million people,
and they still never had a lockdown or anything like that.
Yeah, but we're supposed to learn from our mistakes, so that's a terrible fucking example.
But the Spanish flu just went away. They never got a vaccine for it.
It was 100 fucking years ago. It
was 100 years ago.
Like,
but
of course they were doing things different.
They also had signs back then that said if you're not wearing a mask, you're going to jail.
And they also were using
we're almost getting there now.
leeches to cure cancer.
He was upset about
shit.
people shutting down buildings, but what they're saying now is that there's 175,000 people died in the U.S.
Hold on, I know what it was. He was angry, but that they shut down that house.
Power, yeah,
the
power
TikTok
of the
house.
the
Yeah,
water.
so he was like, what gives them the right to just change this thing overnight? Guess what, Joe? The government changes things overnight all the time. One day, people were allowed to own slaves. The next day, they weren't. And guess what, Joe? The people on the wrong side of history were sitting there going, why isn't it I can't do the thing I was doing yesterday?
But it's a situation of 2 years from now, the world just might be in smithereens, and like we shouldn't have locked down. It's not a guarantee that we're all going to get out of this hunky-dory.
There isn't a guarantee that we get out of anything hunky-dory.
Exactly. So that's what he's upset about.
But him being upset again, he always follows it up with like, but I get it. I mean, if we had overrun the hospitals, we'd be fucked. So I don't get his whole argument.
I think it's just as a punishment, the government turning off your power and stuff seems a little intrusive.
Well, again,
they should fine him.
It's a real slippery.
Go to the house and find those people, but just to go out, shut down the power, like it just.
Yeah, but Jamie brought it up. It's not. They don't shut your power off first time. That's not how it works.
Well, I'm sure if it happened to you, you'd be upset, but.
Well, I would too. But again, if I'm fined 4 times and I keep breaking the ordinance and then they turn my power off, that's them being serious.
But I just don't understand. So hold on a second. If you're having a giant party at your house, forget COVID, okay? You're having a big party at your house. Too big. Shit spilling out onto the street or whatever. The cops can come and shut that party down.
Well, first of all, Jamie brought it up. Occupancy is a thing.
No, but am I right?
Yes.
So the same applies to this
but again,
house.
You have to. Well, there has to be a reason. So I mean, you have to either be breaking noise or it has to be unsafe occupancy, things like that.
Why did they stop it then? Why did they shut down the house? What was their reasoning?
Gatherings.
They have a ordinance out now that you can't have gatherings of more than a certain amount of people.
Yeah.
And they broke that ordinance.
That's what I'm saying.
I
what he's saying though is they broke the ordinance. Why turn the power off in the house? That's it. And what I said was first of all, we don't know the whole story. If it's the 5th time they've done this, then I'm with them. Yes. Oh, you guys want to just keep paying the fines and breaking the rules, knowing that they're spreading COVID? Then yeah, guess what? We're going to turn the power off in your house.
What if someone in the house was on life support or something? I think you can fine to the wazoo. If they don't pay the fines, put them in jail. But shutting off the power, it's just like it seems like a governmental overreach.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask.
I can understand the power company shutting down the power.
Is it different
hold on.
for you to just toss them in jail?
You'd rather send someone to jail than turn their power off. And then you went on the off chance that they had someone on life support. If they have someone on life support and they're having COVID parties, you don't think that's equally as dumb or dangerous? I'm kind of lost here.
No, you're not lost. The power of the government to shut off the power is like, I guess he's thinking of it as new ground. Like this isn't a normal thing they do.
It's a slippery slope. Look, again, it's one of those things where they say it all the time. The powers that be will take control saying that this will go back to normal, and then it never goes back to normal because nobody likes to give back the power that they've got. And that goes right across the board, you know?
The most interesting about this podcast is Joe's let slip that they have a minute test at the White House for COVID.
If that's true,
why the fuck isn't that just mass produced?
That's not. I heard that like 3 weeks ago. It's been out in the.
So that you're saying that is true.
Well, Well, I heard it before Joe said it.
So then why aren't all resources now going to make that North American wide?
Or worldwide.
I think you're forgetting. Well, resources, that's probably it. They probably have X amount of these tests. Or, like you said, they're not cheap. It's like everyone was getting mad at Joe for having access to COVID tests because they were like, we can't get tests. Joe was paying $200 a pop for every single person. The White House might be paying $2,000 a pop for these 1 minute tests. It might be for the rest of the.
Then it's got to be like cell phones. You got to mass produce it so it gets cheaper.
I guess what I'm thinking is, look, I kind of think that at this point, yeah, they may come up with a vaccine for this, but I think this has just kind of opened Pandora's box of viruses and a new kind of like norm, Joe, sorry, whatever. I lost where I was going. It'll come back to
What I was saying before, though, is it's still the media spin because they say 175,000 people have died in the U.S., but originally they were going to say 2.2 million people have died. So even though they're a disaster, it's still a success, but it isn't seen that way. And they don't factor in that 40% or 48% of America's obese, which was a huge factor why they have way more fatalities in other countries.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sure.
What was your point there?
I don't have any idea what his point was.
Everyone's saying that it's a disaster what's happening in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
But they projected 2.2 million deaths, and it's 175,000 deaths.
It's not over.
No, by now they predicted 2.2 million.
Okay. But again, I'm saying even though
that's a good thing.
Okay.
Even though it's a bad thing. Like everyone looks at it's a disaster there. But it could have been a much worse. But the media doesn't look like that. It'll be interesting when Biden becomes president.
But that's weird, Kumar. That's like saying, well, a hurricane came through here and killed 1 million people, but we thought it was going to kill 2, so it's actually not a disaster.
It's not as bad. No, not a disaster. It's just not as bad as we thought.
But who cares if it's not as bad as we thought?
We do because we're listening to these experts that tell us what to do. And that's a big margin of error, right?
I think Joe's problem with Los Angeles is that they're making decisions that are nonsensical at this point, and maybe he's just looking at other states as making better decisions.
He could regret moving to
that.
Texas.
I don't give a shit.
Well, no, just because when I talked about rats leaving a sinking ship, you seemed to like, I don't know. Are you angry at Joe for leaving LA? No,
I don't give a shit.
You don't think so?
But you don't think it's sad that New York will never be the same?
I think New York will be the same.
They kept talking about it. The guy who
one guy wrote. Yeah, that's great. One guy wrote an article,
and the whole country agrees with him.
Who's the whole country, Kumar?
Like Glenn Beck to the Legion of Skanks to Joe Rogan. Like,
I've heard a lot of people talking about
that's great.
It
people
really
leaving New York,
made
but
people feel
only
away.
time will tell.
First of all, they just finished saying that the price of real estate in New York has gone down 50%. So the second this thing does taper off,
it's not supposed to taper off.
Well,
first
of all, there will be a vaccine. Your whole herd immunity thing is out the window because you lose your immunity after 3 months. They just came out with that.
Everything's out the window.
But I'm just saying, so what if you don't think so if they get a vaccine tomorrow, you don't think everything goes back to normal? I mean, I agree with you because 50% of people won't take it. Simon won't take it.
And the strain in India doesn't respond to it. So unless you're going to shut off India,
that's what I was going to say before.
It's a kettle of worms.
Is instead now of focusing on a vaccine because we're kind of certain that another thing is just going to come down the pipe.
It'd only be a temporary
Why don't
fix.
we put a lot of those resources that you were talking about into these tests? Because that immediately would get us to a place where we have like some control, you know?
No, I don't.
Well, right now we're just waiting for this hypothetical vaccine that is coming whenever, maybe next week, maybe 3 years from now. They should be working on tests. Testing should have been the very first thing that was going on.
But how do you know they're not working on tests? This is very anecdotal, like we're three idiots in a room.
There's a White House test that is super fast, and it's not like 6 months from now there's going to be this test. It's 6 months from now there's going to be a vaccine that'll work for 2.5 years. And then we'll have to get a new vaccine or the COVID will mutate and then it won't work at all. I think his biggest qualm is they shouldn't have done the lockdown the way they did. And the repercussions are still being felt and will be felt for the next year.
But we did the lockdown the same way they did,
and
it worked. But they didn't lock down properly.
No, it just saved a couple people. The country may crumble in a year from now.
Whose?
Ours. Like, businesses are still going to business. The effects of the lockdown are being felt now and will be felt into the winter and in the next months.
Yeah, I realize, but Kamar, a good portion of those businesses are eventually going to come back.
We will only know when it happens.
Some of them will. The numbers they talk about in New York, yeah, I mean, there should be opportunities.
And that's exactly what I'm
saying. But again, if you're somebody who's like, I just think the appetite now for, you're not going to open a restaurant at this point.
No. You may never be able to be in a large group again for like 5 years.
That was a lot of the businesses that were being opened, before COVID.
Yeah, I realize that.
Yeah, so just things are going to be different. Is for certain.
So it's going to be...
And especially if you're right and we're getting a second wave of this shit, like...
I didn't say we're getting a second wave. We don't know. First of all, the U.S. hasn't finished their first wave. There's no fucking second wave for them if you haven't dealt with the first one. Well, Italy could get a second wave.
They should have a complete disaster in like the next week in America because of Sturgis.
South Korea is reporting an uptick. But it's just, again, it's so like... Talk about anecdotal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you believe any of the fucking news networks at this point? Right or left, they all have agendas. Every bit of news that comes out is like highly monitored because they want to use anything they can to weaponize against the other fucking party.
And we don't know if we didn't do our lockdown whether 5,000 more people died or 50,000 more people died. We just are hoping what we did was the best thing. You just don't know.
Okay, no matter what though, I think that we had to lock down for some time.
Yeah, and I think it should have been like 2 weeks. Full lockdown. All businesses, not Walmart, not anything. Way more severe and way more of this is a sacrifice we're all going to make.
It probably would have had to be like a month or more, but it had to be a heavy lockdown. I agree. When they told everybody to go out and like buy supplies to last you for a month, that should have been because things were going to very little was going to be open. Not just.
Yeah, but first of all, we saw what happened. We couldn't do that.
Yeah, no, I realize that. We
weren't prepared. There wasn't a
Canada could have.
No, there wasn't a single store. There wasn't a single store that could have prepared for people buying 1 month's worth of supplies. It just didn't exist. Like, look at toilet paper. And again, the only reason that happened is because we produce it all locally, and because it takes up so much space on the shelf, but it's not worth a lot. It's a shit product to have. So it wasn't like there was a shortage of toilet paper. It was all made in China. That's all fucking bullshit. Who cares? Well, do I think New York will come back? Of course I will.
A lot of people think one of the biggest things is the office space.
Yeah.
Companies don't need people to be in offices anymore.
Yeah.
And they're not going to bring them back.
That's fine. New York is still a beautiful place to live, one way or the other.
Not if no one lives there.
No, it's actually better if no one lives there.
I mean, I thought about that today. I preferred, in the height of the pandemic, getting around. There's never traffic, anything.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. New York could, if anything, New York could come out of this better. Sure, you might not have the plethora of restaurants, incredible restaurants and shit, but do you think, so we're just assuming that Broadway is going to die?
Yeah, they're saying all the people pay a lot of tax money in New York are going to Florida, are going to Texas, are just leaving.
Well, I'm just telling you.
You disagree?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the best case scenario at this point for New York would be it just becomes like a normal city. And you're not, look, if the reason New York has this amazing nightlife and the comedians need to be there because they're going to the clubs, and that's why they're willing to pay these ridiculous rents on these piece of shit places, okay? If everybody's leaving, like Kamar's saying, then what will happen is all those rents will go down to reasonable, normal levels, in other cities. Normal people will move in, and it will become a normal city. It will never be...
No, but it will,
because that we knew, though.
I disagree, because again, New York, first of all, New York is mostly tourism. Not to mention, most people don't live in fucking Manhattan. Most people live in Jersey. Most people live in Connecticut. Most people commute into the city every day.
Yeah, but
The amount of people,
the
amount of people that sleep in their own bed in New York City in a night is like fucking a fraction of what's there during the day.
No, that's fine. But I mean, those people are still going back to Manhattan because.
But that's what I'm saying.
For the comedy clubs, if those comedy clubs don't exist. You just said
it's mostly tourism. Tourism's done.
Well, we don't know that.
Who wants to go to America?
Well, right now, no one does. But again, if they cleaned up their fucking shit and they got this thing under wraps, then guess what? People start going back.
So even best case scenario, though,
what do you mean assume?
You reclaim 60%.
Things just get better.
Well, we saw things get better, Kamar.
Like
Why do you?
After 9/11?
It's weird because you keep doing this thing where like we don't want to look at them as like our example. Things got better here. You're going to work. You work right now.
Yeah,
Simon,
but I could stop working. It's not better. Like we're in the middle of it, the disaster right now. Things are like I've seen a lot of people panic about the CERB going to EI.
Okay, fine. Stop though. You just said when you had to stop working, did the government not give you $2,000 a month?
Yeah. Do we know what the effect of that is going to be on us?
They print money all the time. They've been doing this for 30 years.
And do we know that's a good thing?
Well,
that probably isn't going to have a lot of effect on you. I'll agree to that because, like you said,
it's not me. It's not an individual thing.
Money.
It's the whole. It's everybody.
I get it. I'm more just like we're not going to go back to a place where you're going to have Blues Fest. You know, like that's.
And I don't know what the financial impact of
things
all
like
that
that are gone. And so, like, look, I was talking to Kamar about there's a group of people who survive on the convention circuits, you know?
Well, I worked at a convention center. There's never going to be
like
conventions
those people. So just there are tons of industries that are gone, and it happened really quickly. And usually it doesn't happen that quickly. It's like a more gradual.
Yeah,
we get used to things that are going to be gone, you know, and then they're gone.
Yeah, and listen, we spoke. We've had 50 people on Joe Rogan's podcast come on and talk about universal basic income and how it pays for itself and how it could fix the economy single-handedly. Yet Kamar thinks that universal basic income, which we've just implemented, is a big problem and how it's going to crumble the economy. And
it has to be now. I think it has to be. I've said that.
Oh, we're doing
You're
it.
You're putting words in my mouth.
Well, I'm not, because you just finished saying you were like that money. Where that money come from? It's going to be detrimental to all of us.
That's one point. The businesses going out of business that have nothing to do with that is another point. There's a lot of stress points that we cannot say will be fine.
Yeah, industries crumble. It's happening really quickly right now. Other industries always come up from it. Always.
Let's hope.
Well, I am hopeful. That's what I'm saying. I'm not just all doom and gloom like Joe, who's fucking. Again, you want to talk about a rat on a sinking ship? That's it.
Well, I think if you have to uproot everything you do, move to another state, like. He didn't do willy-nilly.
And I think
I'm not saying he did it willy-nilly. I'm just saying
that's why he's upset.
I think it would be different too if you like lived in New York City, right? So for somebody like me who doesn't like all the crowds, let's say I needed it for my job, then I would be willing to sacrifice all those crowds for that. If your job's no longer there, then you're going to go live somewhere that's nicer, you know?
And then the other thing is the crime. Apparently the crime in New York is out of control. Or the crime everywhere is out of control in the States. Which I don't even know what the
let me ask you this. We've heard Joe say that. You don't believe any news networks in the States. So other than Joe saying that, where are you getting this info
There's
from?
riots in Portland every night.
Okay, that's Portland. You just said it's all over the States. So I'm just curious. You don't believe any news networks, neither of you. So we don't believe them. So let's cut them out of the loop. We've heard Joe say that crime in New York is terrible. Other than him,
I mean, Tim Pool talks about it all.
I've heard my friends on their podcast. They live in New York. There's bad crime.
I mean,
but again, more than one person.
I've lived in New York, and for what I've heard, there's always been crime in New York, always bad. Where is this crime? In Manhattan? Is it in the boroughs? But again, these are all questions that need to be asked that we're not asking. We're just blanket statement going off of what one person has told us or anecdotally what a few have told us.
If we have any New York listeners, why don't you let us know what's going on in New York?
Sure. But again, where do you live? Are you right? Are you left? All that matters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it does.
No, I think crime is just crime. I don't know if all the crimes being committed by left.
No, the idea, crime may be crime, but the idea is that who's telling you about it?
Well, the one I saw was Proud Boys versus Antifa. So, I mean, that's both sides. It doesn't really...
I think there are protests and riots still going on in multiple states across the U.S.
Yes, every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing.
Okay, but you just said crimes and protests. Those are two separate, completely separate things.
Well, I said riots.
Well, half the protests turn into crimes at night. It appears, riots, whatever, fires.
Again, that's opportunists. We've talked about this multiple fucking times.
Yeah, and none of this would be happening without a lockdown or whatever.
This isn't a blame on any specific person. I think
But hold on,
Antifa is
but
more responsible than anybody else.
half the states isn't locked down. Again, you're talking about California. California is locked down.
California and New York.
Okay, most of the southern
Mostly
states.
the two populous states of the United States of America.
Okay, and
most of the people are. So it's a good sample size of unrest. I mean, I'm sure in Idaho where Mike Baker is, it's fucking, they don't even know there's a pandemic.
Back to Nikki Glazer.
Nikki
that
the
was
slut.
pretty much all I had. I didn't find this episode all that interesting. I didn't like it as much as you guys did.
Well, the arch of this podcast, the next one is saying goodbye, confusion about where the industry is going to go, Joe's anger at the states, locking shit down. Like it was a thorough thing. Both these podcasts, though, have proved your theory about there's no mention of that other guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's done. That's
guaranteed because one of the three girls would have brought it up.
But if what Matt said is true, like he's in big trouble.
Mr. Callan.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to say his name.
That guy.
Did you see Sam Tripoli start a podcast with him?
No, I didn't.
Well, because Brendan Schaub was told he couldn't do the podcast with Brian Callan.
By who?
Management.
It's the management company that runs Fight on the Kid.
I didn't know they had a management company.
That's what I said in that text. The management
no,
company.
but that sounds like a
Cast. I think it's called Cast Media.
Oh yeah, okay.
Cast with a K.
They specifically came out and said we have no relation to Brian Callan whatsoever.
Oh, it's very interesting. I had no idea they even had a management company. So there you go.
But he's scrambling, and now he's doing a podcast with Sam Tripoli, where Sam Tripoli presents him with conspiracies, and Brian Callan disputes them.
Interesting.
I wonder if it's a good, wise idea for
Simon had the same idea
Sam
for that
Tripoli.
podcast.
Well, he stole it from me.
Pretty much.
But we'll see if his Patreon continues or tails off.
Yeah. All right, let's rate this one.
2.
I do believe Nikki Glazer is this girl, and I give it a 3.5. But she should settle down with someone.
I give it a 2.5. I felt it was just a little too much, but maybe that's just me.
And like you're so thirsty, but you won't make any move yourself. Like the guy in the airport, like I took my headphones off to like make it clear that I wanted to be talked to. Talk to him, you dumb slut. What's wrong with you, fuck? Like I don't understand that attitude.
And I
She's in
don't
her
think
head.
that guy is into her at all.
He was in a relationship.
He said he was a fan.
No. The dude who she's
The
been
sex
seeing.
celebrity?
Of
course. A-list celebrity?
She's a side piece.
Oh my God.
The guy who asked for the autograph, she should have got the autograph, and they would have been bliss.
All right. Yeah.
Let's just do the next one.
Oh, I need to take a little break, man. I'm super fucking hot.
Fine.
Like the next guests.
We'll take a break. We'll pay some bills, and we'll be back.
All right, 1529. Whitney Cummings and Annie Lederman. I don't know how to say her last name. So
Letterman.
very nostalgic. They're all filming that Comedy Store documentary, which is why I think we're going to get a bunch of old school comedians in the next little while.
But do you think that Whitney Cummings dyeing her hair is, she's coming undone? She doesn't know what to do with herself?
I didn't even see she dyed her hair.
Like bright pink.
No, I don't know. Isn't she always kind of wacky?
But she's wacky, but I just think it's like this, I can't change the lockdown or my situation, so I'm going to change something about myself. Mm-hmm. That's what I figure she did.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people did that.
or are in the midst of doing that. But she's really successful, Whitney Cummings.
She is very successul, yeah.
And
Well, she kept saying it.
And yeah, exactly. And Eddie Letterman is on the come up.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Well, she's not. She doesn't have a Netflix special or anything big like that. Who'd you think? I thought Letterman was the funniest.
I mean, they were both.
She was shitting on all Tim Pool, all the comics. Like she sort of has a she doesn't give a fuck right now, and she'll just say whatever comes to her head. Mm-hmm. And I thought she was really funny, or the funniest of Whitney or her.
Sure, out of Whitney or her, she was funnier. I'll agree with that.
Absolutely.
Did you guys? Of course, you heard. We all listened. Mosquitoes. They're injecting they're genetically modifying those mosquitoes.
Nothing could go wrong there.
So that they're all females, I think, or the other way around, all males. Yeah.
Nothing could go wrong there.
Well, that's like the start of every horror movie. But I think they're doing it. It's like to battle out Zika or something.
750 million mosquitoes.
I mean, they're not very big mosquitoes.
How do they count that though?
Well, they're probably just estimating.
Yeah, of course. It's big numbers to be messing with Mother Nature.
Yeah, it's something like the females don't bite.
That's privilege. We're altering our mosquitoes so we don't get bitten anymore. But it's just in Florida, wasn't
Why?
it?
That's how they eat. You're telling me a female doesn't bite?
Does she have to feed her eggs blood or something?
I don't know. Here, I'll look it up while I'm talking trash. How about that Rich Voss joke, though? I don't mind fucking a girl while she's on her period. I just pretend like I'm murdering her.
I didn't think it was that funny.
I thought that was pretty funny.
I think it's hilarious. I think they're all really going through a state of shock right now. Because just we were talking about before, things will never be the same. Like, hopefully the Austin Club or whatever Joe does will be Comedy Store Southwest and revive the thing with lax rules. But they're all really remiss that they don't know when or how the Comedy Store will ever be the same again. And I think Nikki, Whitney, and Annie all sort of want to sit down with Joe to be reassured. I don't think he did that because he's upset or whatever and still angry.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'll have to look into that further and let you know.
I don't really care.
Well, I'm interested now because I didn't really look too far into it. How about Crystalia not being mentioned by Whitney either?
Crystalia or Brian Callen, and they had a huge segment of the podcast where they talked about cancellations, jumped to conclusions. So, I mean, it's pretty damning in silence. As we said a week ago, we didn't want to speculate or anything, but
I was screaming at the thing, Max Hardcore, Max Hardcore.
I too was screaming Max Hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
I figured we all were. I thought that was fitting.
Ooh, yeah.
Is that a Max Hardcore thing? Mm-hmm. I've actually never seen one of his videos. I just
showed you one.
I don't know if you have.
You never seen someone piss in a girl's butthole?
Yeah, I showed you him pissing all over a girl's face.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Okay, sure. I don't think I ever heard him using his tagline.
Oh, that was
Let's put it that way.
a funny sidebar. You know, I listen to Adam 22 sometimes.
Sure.
No Jumper. He had this girl on who admitted to blowing 7 Phoenix Suns in one session. After the podcast, she got disowned by her dad and lost her job. And then a week later on OnlyFans made $100,000.
Wow. That's where we're at in this universe.
That's where we're at. People dig sex, man.
Were you also yelling at the thing, ringer? They were trying to find out what it was called in horseshoes when you throw the thing onto the ring, or when you
No.
You didn't know?
No,
Okay.
I forgot.
I don't know
I was
enough about
yelling.
horseshoes.
I was yelling. Let's see what else we got here. Do you think they should have a podcast together? Because Joe was pretty adamant about it.
I liked their chemistry. I really did. And it's sort of like Whitney Cummings is the rich person and Annie Letterman is the rags to riches sort of thing. So they have that differences. It'd be more annoying if they're both two super successful
How
comedians.
much do you think Whitney Cummings is worth?
I don't know. She did Two Broke Guys and a bunch of sitcoms with Dalia, Netflix special. But let's not leave it to speculation.
What do you think she's worth, Matt? I think she's worth 11 million.
I don't know, $3 million.
Whitney Cummings' net worth. And she's having a crisis, doing those shows in her backyard, a la Chappelle. That's how I know it's so important that Chappelle keeps doing those shows. They're desperate to perform.
How about basket case comes from soldiers in the war who were able to fit in a basket because they got all their limbs fucking shot off or whatever?
That's not very nice.
No, it's terrible.
30 million.
What? Holy shit. I wonder how she got so fucking rich.
Well, there you go. That shows you that David Blaine's 40 doesn't really mean fuck all.
I guess not if she has that much.
Well, like if his first special was in 1995, that's 25 years. If he made $2 million a year, he'd have $50 million. And I'm assuming for those shows, he's making $1 million. Like to sit in ice for 63 hours. He's doing that for $5,000.
I don't know.
But I mean, they made a good point that they can use the studio because I guess he's not getting rid of the studio.
Mm-hmm. Did he agree to that? I never heard him agree to that.
Can't really use the studio though. You need
staff.
Well, you need a producer, yeah.
Well, they could use the structure.
I'm just saying, but even to get, you need, yeah, I guess.
Do you think Jamie is just like it's not an upheaval for him to move?
Well, I mean, it's definitely an upheaval for him, but the money he makes, why would he care?
He just goes where the money is.
I would.
I don't think he has a family or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if he had more roots, it might be more of an upheaval, but
I think most of his roots are probably through Joe Rogan.
he looks at life as I do what Joe does.
I also think he looks at it like Joe will fly me back whenever the fuck I want.
Yeah, I think all of those things are true.
I was still trying to figure out how much he makes.
Well,
I
again,
mean, we've had this discussion before.
I have a feeling that when Joe makes $100 million, Jamie is somehow involved in that, whether it's a percentage, something.
I totally agree.
Which means, again, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, I'm moving to Austin.
Yeah.
But who knows if they'll want to fly back to LA?
Well, when you're flying private and you have a sick place, I don't think it's...
Well, I forget what I was listening to, but they're saying just how the tent cities are growing exponentially these days. If there's anything to go back to.
Well, he'll have the Comedy Store to go back to. Out of all the comedy places that will survive, it will be one of them. There'll still be some comedians who live in LA.
Well, they're saying I think the Laugh Factory is going under.
Yeah, it's not the Comedy Store.
No.
I think Joe himself will keep the Comedy Store afloat.
Are they making a documentary about the Laugh Factory?
No, I think
Case in point.
the owner's a jerk.
Anyways, you get my drift.
No, but I truly believe every comedian, if it came time, would be like, what do we need to put up? 20 grand each? Fuck, done. And just keep it afloat. Why wouldn't they? It would be in their best interest, too.
Why, if it's just losing money because they can't hold enough people? I mean, they are business people at the end of the day, not just philanthropists. Do you think Joe almost cried when they're like, you've made everyone's career on this show? Like he's the new Carson?
No, but it made me wonder how many podcasts he's actually launched.
Not even podcasts, just bringing a comedian's name to prominence.
Or not even comedians, I guess, even like authors and stuff.
Well, that's why we used to do the bump.
Yeah.
We used to. Keyword. But I mean, I think he made Tom Segura.
Yeah, no, I agree. He made a lot
Like
of comedians.
Ari Shafir, the
Or
list
made
goes on.
is the wrong word. He
Provided
gave
a platform for
lot
them
of
to succeed.
opportunities,
Yeah, exactly. And his last prodigy is now Ali Makovsky.
Yeah, we don't want to get into that again.
Oh, no, we did not want to get in that.
Anyways, yeah, I didn't have a ton of notes for these gals.
Well, I think it's because it's literally like the end of school saying goodbye. that's why these podcasts are happening. Not there was something specific to talk about. I mean, they didn't have anything to sell, obviously.
Well, like I said, I think it has to do with the Comedy Store doc. I think they're just a bunch of people around because of that thing. And they all just got together. Obviously, they had a big party there or something.
Do you think it was interesting you only did 3 podcasts this week?
I mean, David Blaine was like 2 in 1.
A tale of 2 podcasts.
Well, he had to like poke him through the arm. I bet that was super traumatic for Joe, but he couldn't like refuse.
No, well, again, I think he's filming a documentary and he's moving.
Yeah. Would you want to poke through somebody's arm?
No. Not in my studio. I'd be like, buddy, I don't need to see this. You're here to talk to me.
Do either of you guys know somebody who's murdered somebody?
Well, I told you, I know there's a dude that used to come to Big Dumb Greg and I's house all the time. He didn't murder someone, but his buddy OD'd and they put him in the bag and put him in the river.
Yeah. That's crazy. No, I was thinking more like, like murder.
Well, and I think a guy I went to Hopewell with ended up, I think he was the guy that killed Ardith Wood.
Who killed who? I'm sorry?
Remember Ardith Wood? That was like 10 years ago. She disappeared in Ottawa. They found her body in, again, the river.
Really?
Yeah.
My mom knew, there was some like famous, like true crime case that happened around here.
I knew a kid that killed his mother, but I didn't know him when he killed the mother. I'd known him, then I did not know him when he killed his mother. So that's the closest I have.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I don't think I know anybody. I mean, in your line of work, you must run across a lot of people.
No one talks about it, though.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
First rule.
First rule of house painting.
Yeah, no, I don't know a murderer, Simon. I don't. Well, maybe we all do, and we don't know about him.
Maybe
that's
we all
interesting.
do, and we don't know about it. Maybe you're in the room with one right now.
And, did you find Whitney Cummings? She was just sort of regurgitating the brain scientist guy, and she agreed with us because she had him on her podcast last week.
Huberman.
Yeah,
who she had a huge crush on.
She had a huge crush on.
I didn't watch him. Is he like that strapping, or is he just strapping for neuroscientists?
I said he was hunky. I guess you just didn't listen to me.
That's quite possible.
It's definite. But it just seems like whatever she absorbs, she just becomes a sponge, then repeats that.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
Oh, well, then you have a lot
That's
in
what
common.
most people do.
I guess so.
And then they take some of that information and they start formulating their own ideas. But if she just heard them, maybe she's still digesting it.
Oh, it was very fresh.
Trying to get an idea from Joe what he thinks is right, so then she can support or deny her idea. Like, this is what human beings do. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm sorry that upset you.
No, it didn't upset me.
Okay.
I felt like you were driving somewhere.
No, I was
just
just
cutting you off at the pass.
observing, and you stuck up for her.
Human nature.
Well, the weird thing is the dyeing her hair. It's just like Nikki Glazer wanted to shave her head. Like, I think there's just a.
Nikki Glazer was absolutely never going to shave her fucking head.
She tweeted it, and it got her on Joe Rogan, so it served its purpose.
Well, that was more my point.
You think she was just reaching out for attention?
She admitted she was reaching out for attention. Just she got the right attention she wanted.
Yeah. Interesting. I wonder if she's like, universe, I want to be on Joe Rogan. Throw a tweet out there, see what happens.
Just to jump back, it was funny in her the Nikki Glazer podcast. She was like, "What are you addicted to?" He's like, "I'm not addicted to anything." He's like, "Addicted to exercise?" I'm not addicted to exercise. And there's like, "I'm addicted to exercise." He realized.
Oh, he knows.
He worked it out in a 4-minute span. So I think Joe likes to have the girls around because they're honest with him, and then make fun of him and stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those two they all make fun of him.
Don't know the next time they're going to see each other. I mean, he had a great time.
Well, they're all going to go and play at his club. Like, it won't be long until he sees them. And people are going to go for his podcast. Like, listen.
There's only 52 weeks in a year.
I know, but if you're a comedian, any comedian, I don't care who you are, it is good for your business if you're on Rogan. So getting on a plane or a train or an automobile or a UFO or fucking time traveling to Texas, you're going to do what you got to do.
Do you think on the new
Am
show?
I wrong?
No, I'm sure the comedy condo will be beautiful.
But do you think on the new show
Right.
it'll be as repetitive guest-wise as it has been last while?
Well, no, but we know that that's because LA, everybody's stuck in LA.
Well, exactly. So do you think there'll be people flying in every week, or
Yes.
will he be flying them in?
He'll probably be
I
flying
assume
them
he'll
in.
have a lot more young comedians on.
You think?
Yeah, I do.
Why?
Because he'll have a lot more young comedians coming in. And again, the ones where he's, I don't know, I just feel like he'll put a lot of people on the come up.
He'll bring a lot of people in from Texas, you mean?
No, I just meant in general, he'll bring a lot of people to his club in Texas, young comedian
I
wise.
see. Gotcha.
And then
Yep.
the ones he really takes a shine to,
Yes, you're absolutely
or in
right.
Kamar's opinion, the ones that suck his dick, he'll then
And you know,
Allegedly.
and you know what? That makes for a better podcast.
different variety of
Yeah,
comedians.
I just like, I don't mind having comedians, but I want to hear different stories. I don't just want like a fresh take on a hot topic, because I'll listen to their podcasts for that, because all these guys have their own podcast, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a waste of time when you're on Rogan.
But
Hot takes.
I hope you're right. I hope that's the case.
I mean, I'm probably not. I'm never.
No, I think that you make a pretty solid point there. Anyways, let's rate this and be done with it.
That's it. We're giving them 17 minutes.
That's it. It was 17 minutes.
That's what you've
Okay,
given
forget
them,
that.
yeah.
Sorry. I'll go through, and I'm sorry. I should have peed when I was out there, and I didn't. And
We can be done. I don't care. I mean, I
no,
don't
no,
take
no.
the
That's
notes. and-
ridiculous. We've never given anybody 17 minutes before. Like that makes this. seem-
Someone's for sure gotten 17
Well, we
minutes.
probably gave David Blaine too much because we did him twice. That should be 25 minutes. You guys didn't really like this podcast. That's what I'm
I
gleaming
did.
from this.
It seemed like they were. Okay.
This was actually the best podcast of the week.
I liked it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a David Blaine guy, obviously, this week. So.
Yeah, clearly.
And when it first got posted, it said 50 minutes on YouTube. Like they made a mistake or something. I was like, what the fuck happened? Did they just
Weird.
say their names and then leave? But then it got reposted and it was 3 hours.
Oh, when they were talking about the text chains and what gets erased and how long things stay up.
What do you mean when comics talk
Yeah.
their real mind?
Weren't you like, oh my God, that's Dalia?
I think it's all of them.
Remember that moment to me is still like insane that they have it on camera.
On the
where
fighter
he
and the kid.
realizes about the
Snapchat
memory.
screen save.
Yeah. It is pretty crazy.
But it's more from funny to creepy.
Yeah.
Like, it was hilarious
It's too
now.
real.
Yeah.
It's too real.
That's
Yeah.
At first it was just ha.
But again,
great meme.
he just might be like, oh fuck, I'm gonna be exposed as like a creep, not necessarily as a criminal.
Yeah.
In all fairness to him.
And in all fairness, that's where this podcast came short, because they talked all about that stuff and they didn't bring them up.
Well, they're not allowed.
Joe has asked him not. Well, has he said Dalia as well, I wonder?
No, Dalia probably, she doesn't want to talk about it.
I feel like Letterman would talk about it, no problem.
Yeah, she would talk about everything.
She'd
right?
talk about everything, anything. Do you think she's more authentic than Nikki Glazer?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Like if she told me she was like, I enjoy getting cum on my face, I'd believe it more than when Nikki says it. That's
I don't know
for
if
sure.
I find Nikki Glazer not authentic as just I feel like there's a bit of a character going on. And I don't mean a character like Carrot Top. I mean like just, everybody kind of.
I'll put it to you this way:
Is who she wants.
if
People
Nikki,
think she is.
if Nikki Glazer was a guy, you would definitely think about any guy you've ever met that only talks about sex. Aren't you immediately like they probably never fuck?
Yes, 100%.
So there you go. So I'm giving her the same benefit I would give
if
to
you
any
talk
man in the
about
world.
girls too much,
That's
you're
it.
probably gay. No,
No,
but
but you know what?
I'm
Yes,
with you.
you're with me. Yeah, I know a few guys that just it's always sex and you're like,
It's
this guy
not
never
just
fucking.
a few guys. I bet you, this is totally anecdotal, but I bet you'll get the exact same anecdote from every second person you ask. Guy, do you know a dude who overcompensates talking about sex because they're hiding the fact that they never get laid or that they're homosexual?
But do you even run with those people anymore?
Well, no, but they still exist.
But I think it's a youth thing to be obsessed with sex and talk about
No,
sex.
I disagree. I think it's like a mental disorder thing. So mental disorders, like the tiniest little bit starts to show itself as you get older.
It's like a compulsion to lying or something.
I
Yes,
cannot
exactly.
remember the last time I was with someone who was like overtly talk about their sexual prowess or something.
Oh, I can.
When in my 20s,
I
everyone
can
did.
guarantee you that you have. I'm not going to give you the example now, but I know for a fact that it was like, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, for sure you have. I'm going to tell you, and you're going to be like, oh yeah.
Okay.
Anyways,
I already know.
It doesn't matter. How catty. So what else we got?
I mean, let's not force it if we don't
Pink
have
hair.
it.
No.
Big earrings.
I was really hot there for a second. I was having a hot flash, and I think I breezed through a couple of things here.
Because I honestly, like, I thought this was a good one, but there were no, like, it was a lot of jokes. They were just kind of shooting the shit for one last time. And
Jokes and reminiscing.
yeah, there wasn't like a serious talking point where I could have been like, oh, there we go.
Well, it would be them if they're subsequently start a podcast and becomes really successful. We'd know the genesis moment.
This was something that I had written down that we should discuss. What do you guys think about the idea of a man cannot be raped if he has an erection?
I've
He's
always
gotta be
said that.
aroused.
I personally totally disagree with that. I'll let you guys go
So
first if you want.
So let me ask you this then. Okay, so you think that a man could suck your dick
Oh my God.
and you would get hard?
You brought this on yourself.
Well, because that's the same argument, right? Like that, like you just have no control over how good it feels, so you get hard, right? But you're being raped.
Yeah, I think that
So if you were tied to a bed, dick out, and a guy, a big burly man, walks into the room and starts aggressively egg yolking your dick.
I have no idea. Yeah, no, I see your point.
I mean, you wanted to go down this road.
No.
not me.
So what does that mean then?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That I'm
so,
gay?
well, I don't know. That's what we're asking. That's the question. So
No.
if you get hard there,
The question isn't whether you're gay.
No, I know.
It's
The
whether
question
you
is-
can be raped.
yeah. So this is the perfect example.
So my is that the perfect example?
But you're saying
though?
the
Yes.
erection is consent. It's physical consent.
I'm not saying that. They were saying that.
yeah. And
That's
and you
the
think
question. Is the erection consent? Like, no, of course it isn't. Just okay. Let's say, Matt, I don't like that you put that on me, but let's say you were tied to the bed,
Yeah.
and a guy came and started stroking your dick, and you got hard. That doesn't mean you're gay. That means that your dick could have a mind of its own.
It means your dick is gay.
No, it means that
Well, I don't know what it means, Simon. That's why I'm asking you.
people
Is
get
like
fucking fear boners.
you get fear boners?
I don't, but it was a whole episode on the league. Like, it obviously exists if they were talking about it.
The League is not a comedy show.
Yes, but
So
those
was the
things
story.
come from.
Real life.
Okay, listen. If
No, I'm with you. Fine,
If you don't
fine.
think there are some people who
I'm
get
sure.
scared
Fine. Someone
and
gets a
get
fear boner.
boners,
Yeah,
you're fucking crazy.
for sure. I can't see. I can't sit here and say definitively no
So
one gets
look,
those.
here's a really good example, better than your gay example, because that one throws like a kink in the mix. Because then it's somehow like
It
questioning
doesn't throw the kink in the mix.
person's
It's the same. Like
sexuality.
no. Because fine. Like
Let's
a
say
really
you're
big
tied-
fat
Let's
chick.
say you're tied up. Here, this is a good example. Okay, let's say you're tied up. You've been kidnapped and you're tied up, and these guys or
Wait, you just said no guys.
people in masks that you're scared of because they've kidnapped you and tied you up and you're naked.
But they have breasts.
No,
You
we
can
don't.
see because of their shirts.
We don't know what they have, but I mean that would help.
No, they have huge
Hey,
voluptuous
that's even
breasts.
better. What if they were like super? What if they were super sexy girls naked, and they were?
I'm down. Then you see the problem.
No, you're still tied up and kidnapped. So
yeah, but it's like this could be worse, right? Like as far as kidnappings go. Oh no, there's two hot girls trying to fuck me.
stop. Let's start again. Let's
Okay.
start again. You get kidnapped.
Do they have herpes all over their genitals or something?
No, because then that would probably make you not hard.
Okay.
I mean, but what if it does make you hard and then they give you herpes? Like,
Well, this is where I'm going with you.
but let's say
I got it. The P boner.
P boner. Exactly, P boner.
Yeah, I know.
What if they get you right first thing in the morning?
They'd have to be timing it and be
No,
craft. You know
But,
that exists.
back to my scenario, Matt. So you're kidnapped, you're waterboarded.
Mm-hmm.
Then the hot girls come in. So like, you know, bad shit is going to happen to you. As soon as you're done with the hot girls, more bad shit is coming. This pattern plays itself out, you know? So like, are you then,
This pattern plays itself out.
If
So I've
you get-
already fucked the hot girls. I
but
know.
if you get hard by the girls jerking you off, it doesn't mean that you're liking what's going on. Like, you're still being held prisoner and you're going to be waterboarded in 2 minutes as soon as you come.
You're very defensive. I feel like you've
No,
been
I'm
kidnapped
just-
and
It's one-
raped
it's-
in some sort of weird scenario.
No. They were going real hard, like hard in the paint on if you get a boner, then it cannot be rape. And I just think there's mitigating circumstances to everything.
But I think only 1% of men would admit they're raped in that situation, and there might be a larger percentage who consider they were sexually assaulted if a girl made them grab their pussy or whatever it is.
Remember the Chappelle joke?
What
There's
was
a
that?
rapist in Dallas right now. This particular rapist is different because this rapist is a man and he's going around raping other men. And he goes, 8 have come forward so far, which means there must have been thousands of victims. He goes, that's a tough one to sell.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's true.
I think it's impossible to say the boner is consent, but it is sort of consent.
No, but you can't say that. Look,
I just did.
I'm not.
How about this? Here's
I'm
the
not
question.
disagreeing
What if
that
you
a
come?
lot of the time.
What if you come?
Well, again, it's totally out of your control.
No.
You think you can control whether you come or not?
Well, stop, because listen, I get the initial erection, maybe fear boner, like you said, but are you telling me you couldn't get to a state in your head where you're like just thinking about nuns playing baseball and like you couldn't lose the erect? Like you're telling me that, again, let's use the dude scenario, that if a big fat naked guy comes in and just starts aggressively jerking you off, he is going to milk your cock? That's fucking obscene,
It's
Simon.
insane. It's insane.
It'd
I
probably
know.
pull you out of it. But
It's probably crazy.
If a woman is raped and she's come, if she's not raped, she is raped still.
Are you saying if you rape?
If a
Well,
woman
that
is
one's
raped,
What a
even
terrible- this is a
way
terrible
more crazy
conversation.
because
well, I don't know if it's apples and apples.
Well, no, because
I'd rather
a
talk about men getting raped.
You know that a woman, usually for a woman to orgasm, it's like
in the head.
a lot of
Yeah,
mental.
oh yeah, it's all upstairs.
So, but for us, like that's the whole argument. For us, it's so physical.
But fine,
which
but
is
hold on.
why
Have you not
maybe
met
the terrorists
Stop.
could jerk you off?
But have you not met a girl too that like you touch her 6 times and she squirts all over the place? So you could argue too that like maybe that girl unfortunately gets
Again,
raped. And,
I think fewer and farther between than a guy who like once he starts, he can't stop. You know.
is blue balls the concern you have in your rape story? Is that what you're worried about? That you
No,
have to finish?
Of course not. Of
Okay.
course not. I'm just look. When you're young
Yeah.
and you're going,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm just wondering what breaks you out of that. You know. I'm trying to think back. I'm old now,
Okay.
but
So
back
now
to-
it'd be no worry for you at all. Like it's a struggle to get it up anyway. So the rape would never happen now.
no.
Okay.
Again, I still think it. I don't know if it's a problem, Matt, because I've never been held.
Well, I mean, now that
hostage
there's
and raped.
Viagra, it's different, right? Because what if they force fed you Viagra
Well, that's exactly.
and then
what
you
they
just
would
have
do.
like a 6-hour?
Oh, I mean, that's
erection.
even fucking worse. You have this thing you can't control. Or maybe that's better.
We've got a flip flop. The boner is no longer
Maybe
consensual.
that's better.
The boner doesn't have to be
Let's
consensual.
let's
I think
keep this
if
in mind.
you're-
Hold
I
on.
think if you're kidnapped and they're gonna be doing sexual shit
there's
to
two
you,
things.
it's never good.
First of all, there's 2 things we're getting wrong. First of all, when men get raped, it's by other men and it's in the ass. It's never someone jerking you off.
And it's generally in prison.
We're talking about the best case scenario where someone wants to get you off, which is like the most generous. Because think about that. That's never how rape
There are
in a woman's
definitely-
case goes.
There are definitely some. You're right. There are
It's
definitely
always the
some
person
guys
trying to get
in
them-
prison though who like sucking other dudes' dicks. Like that's what they get off on, as opposed to blasting dudes in the butt. Don't you think? Who are like closet
Don't you think?
gay dudes?
I don't know.
You've watched Oz, man. You look at me like you've never seen the fucking
well,
shows.
because I've seen it on television.
Well, that's
Like,
where
what-
I've seen it too, man.
Well, I'm not going off of TV as my
Everything
fucking.
I know comes from Joe
Okay.
Rogan and television. What do you want from me?
I don't know. He was defending your boy Graham Hancock. I'm surprised you didn't bring that up.
He was defending my boy Graham Hancock.
well, he went into
Oh
Yeah.
yes, he did. Well, because they were talking about what I talked about last week.
the discussion.
Okay,
we
but
had
that's
last
not in
week.
your notes.
The experts
You were
coming in.
about to
Because you guys
17
get
minutes
so
in.
angry at me when I talk about that.
No,
And I just talked about it.
it was a
last
Matrix
week.
moment.
Again. Yes. Okay. Fine. Matrix moment. I'll take that. But yeah, I mean, he should be back on. He should be the first guest. of
I
the
was
new
thinking
year.
the other day, there's no reason why you couldn't have a podcast with Graham Hancock.
There's a huge reason why.
The fuck?
couldn't.
What is he sitting around doing nothing? If you called him up, he'd give you an interview. Really?
I don't think he would.
I think he would.
And I don't think I would be smart enough to converse with him.
No, you just ask him questions.
the same questions that like a million people have asked him. I don't know if I would. What am I going to ask him?
About magic with a K.
We could definitely talk about
I
magic.
thought
with
you
a
were
K.
interested in him, and I'm sure it is not out of a reach to get him on a Zoom podcast.
First of all, we decided when he was on that Joe skirted around the question because in his book he clearly won't say but says people move shit with their mind.
Oh no,
so you could just
He
ask him
said,
that.
Matt.
So there you go. Joe never asked about that.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you
That's
could
the
say.
first
Listen,
thing I would ask him about.
Especially
It's
if you
true.
weren't going at him with a gotcha, trying to discredit him moment. If you're generally interested and generally fan, I do not think it's even close to impossible.
Yeah, okay, but why would I do it?
Because you talk about him all the time. That's the only reason you brought it up.
You never meet your heroes. Man.
Never talk to your heroes. Okay, fine. Anyways, put that on the pedestal. It's possible.
he actually hates Simon. I
might.
think all your magic ideas are stupid personally.
Or what if you ask him
He
a
might
question?
hate me. I believe in aliens. I don't even know what he thinks about aliens.
What if you ask him a question? He's like, I never thought of that. And that starts a new book.
Oh, that would be incredible.
Yeah, so.
What if we collaborated on something and we went like to Machu Picchu?
Then you'd never have to be raped again because you'd have a 24/7 erection all the fucking
You would have
time.
gone on an airplane.
I'd have to get
It'd be
on
many
an
miracles.
Oh, Simon, that reminds me. I'll save it for the post, Joe. I'll write it down.
Write it down.
Now let's rate it.
Please.
Okay, there we gave them their just desserts with all that fucking forced boner talk. I
Bottom
give
of the
this
barrel.
one a 3.
I thought Annie shined in this one. I give her a 4. I give the episode a 3.5.
I give it a 3.
And I don't remember Annie ever being on before. Where I do remember McCloskey being on. So
Annie
there's
was on
that.
and she told about how she was blackout all those years. And
Yep.
it was a total come up. It was an interesting conversation.
We did it.
And I think we sort of thought she was a bit of a slut, but now I really like her. She's growing on me even more.
I don't think I ever thought she was a slut. That sounds like something you would have thought.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Huge hoops. You know what they say about hoops.
Tell me.
The bigger the hoop, the bigger the hoe.
Go on.
That's
That's
the end
it.
of it.
All right.
All right. Well, that's it. Sorry this week was such a fucking clusterfuck.
We rated every
disaster,
episode.
Total nightmare. All my bad.
Fuck faces we are.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to hit us up, you can email us at jreepodcast@gmail.com. We have a Twitter and an Instagram. They're both JREE pod or at JREE podcast. You can follow Kamar on Instagram.
At Kabamba Bar, Instagram and Twitter.
Simon wants to be left alone.
Follow the show.
There you go. There's a Reddit or a subreddit. It's reddit.com/JREE podcast if you want to join the conversation. And the Patreon, of course. Patreon.com/JREE podcast. You can head over there and support the show. Just be aware that guy tier is going away. Or I guess Brian, what's happening?
Are we going to cancel them?
It never made
It doesn't matter. Brian Redband is going to be
Oh.
the $5 level now, and that guy is going to go away. So there's not going to be a $1 level anymore. So if you're at the $1 level, you can continue giving us $1 a
We're
month.
canceling that guy.
Someone had to go.
Inadvertently.
Well, no,
that guy-
listen.
that
Someone was
guy's being
going. We
canceled.
made that choice. Maybe you guys actually did this to him because you guys decided this a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago. So I think you guys did this to him because inadvertently the two of you say things on this show and they happen. I say things and the opposite happens.
Rarely.
Anyways, yeah, go on with your.
Anyway, you can join the Patreon for as little as $5 a month.
There you go.
And for that, you will get the post show early, and you also get a bunch of episodes of This Won't Age Well.
And undying gratitude.
Yeah, you get that as well. And the YouTube. You can watch us do this every week if you want to. It's youtube.com/JREE podcast. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a like. I don't care we really just care if you subscribe. We want to hit that 1,000 mark so we can start making like 50 cents a week off this thing. So hit subscribe. That's it. Anything else?
Go to iTunes. Leave a good review.
You got one. You got one
Thanks so
review.
much,
2
guys.
weeks.
That is
Great-
how
great-
we fight
great
the
turnaround.
trolls out there,
Give up.
is by speaking our minds.
Give up. All right, that's it. Again, thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a great weekend. Stick around for the post show.
Keep your eyes open.